It could take days to reach any survivors.
More than 1,700 have died. Most of the dead are in Myanmar, where relief efforts are being hampered by buckled roads. This is CBS News.
A riddle brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com.
Attention! Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-929-1313. 800-929-1313. Again, that's 800-929-1313.
It's a nervous time for high school seniors looking to get into top universities. CBS's Steve Kathan explains.
College may be costly, but applications are up 6% this year, and competition for some is fierce. Nikolai Galusha applied to 33 schools.
I just really wanted to broaden the options that were out there because it's really a lottery with these competitive schools.
His classmate in Greendale, Wisconsin, Carly Ansack, has a 4.0 GPA but is worried.
Seeing people be in part of 10 different clubs, it's kind of hard not to compare yourself to that.
John Burdick was a college application screener for decades.
As the universities try to be more selective because that communicates value, students at the same time say, well, I want to get into the most selective place because that creates value for me.
Steve Kathan, CBS News.
According to the Education Data Initiative, the average cost in 2025 is more than $27,000 per year at an in-state university. I'm Heather Bosch, CBS News.
Are you concerned about age-related macular degeneration, or AMD? If you're over 50, then you should be. AMD impacts as many as 1 in 10 Americans over 50. Now, protecting your eyes is easier thanks to New Nordic's Blueberry Eye Supplements. New Nordic's Blueberry Eye Supplements not only protect your eyes, but help improve night vision, as well as helping to relieve eye fatigue caused by digital devices. Enjoy healthy vision with New Nordic's Blueberry Eye Supplements. Available now at Amazon.com or NewNordicUSA.com.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking. Ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Piazza Premium Automobile Studios, powering your drive with 10 brands and 20 locations. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Matt Rooney on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT.
I'm surprised you made it in tonight, Justin. I figured you'd be burning your bra in front of a Tesla dealership or something like that. Being the radical leftist you are.
Get that done and be here in time for the show. I'm a multifaceted individual.
A consummate professional. A consummate professional. He can protest and still do his job. Well, wonders never cease. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of The Matt Rooney Show on 1210 WPHT. A pleasure to be with you as ever. I wasn't here last week, and absence does indeed make the heart grow fonder. Whenever I'm gone, I'm all the more excited to return to you, and it usually means we have even more to talk about since our news cycle never ceases to accelerate in this crazy, wacky world which we all occupy. So I'm excited for tonight. I hope that you are ready for 3 hours of non-stop entertainment, talk, information that we're going to cram into your head, force feed it to you. And remember, the goal here on this program and on 1210 generally is never to tell you what to think. It's to help you learn how to think for yourself. That's the key difference from us and the legacy media guys and gals and those that can't figure out what a woman is and what their gender might be. So let's get rolling here and tell you how you can participate in tonight's program. There's the old-fashioned way, 855-839-1210. I'll give our usual disclaimer. We are stingy with phone calls, especially on a week like this one when I've been gone for 2 weeks. There's no time. There's no time for you to call in and say, hey, Matt, love the show, first-time caller. Here's this repetition of a thing that you just said an hour ago. No, we can't do that tonight, all right? So if you have something that's really worth it, or if lightning strikes and I happen to get something wrong or miss something, doesn't happen very often. But in those narrow instances, we encourage your participation. You can also head on over to YouTube if you're not listening the old-fashioned way via the radio dial. It's youtube.com/@1210 WPHT, where you can confirm that I am indeed as handsome as I sound. And it looks like the usuals, the regulars, are already beginning to populate the chat. Good to see you all. Mangelmush, Suze, Kimmy, the Greater Baxter. He says, time for Rooney tunes. That's right. We're spinning the golden Rooney oldies for 3 hours this evening. They're crazy enough to give us 3 hours of programming. There's also a little bit of news since last time I was on the air, Justin Otero.
Ooh.
We now officially, finally, after months, years of pining and longing for this, we finally have an official Matt Rooney Show podcast.
Oh, wow.
Up over on Odyssey, yeah.
Look at you moving up in the world.
I know, right? Look at me. I've got no strings to hold me.
Mr. Big Shot with his podcast.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, baby. And it's got the Matt Rooney Show logo with the little microphone, with my glasses, and excellent head of hair for a 40-year-old, if I do say so myself. So you can head over and you can check that out. It's odyssey.com/podcast/the Matt Rooney Show. And there's a little, I think you got to put the hyphens in. I'm not sure about that. We'll get some clarity. You can also go there and you can search for it. And, of course, that enables you to listen to the Matt Rooney Show all week. You know, maybe you are exercising, jogging, right, outside. Maybe you're working in the garden. Maybe you are hanging out at a family barbecue and they're all lefties and you're trying to block them out. So you kind of end up meandering off to a quiet end of the garden where you can get a moment alone and listen to some Matt Rooney so you feel like you have a friend in this world. Maybe you're drawing a warm bath for yourself and lighting some candles and you're tired of listening to the songs of the whales, right? Whales crying in the deep, and you want to listen to my melodious voice. You know, we won't tell anyone. It can be our little secret. So definitely make sure you check out the Matt Rooney podcast when you get a chance. Newman over on YouTube says, no shout out, Rooney. Who checked in on you last week during your absence? That's true. When I did not show up online or on the radio dial, however you consume this program last week, Newman was the only one to say, hey, where's Matt? Is he okay? Is anything wrong? Is he like Zioli and he's got a foot growing out of the size of his head or something like that and is hospitalized? Thank you, Newman. I appreciate that. I knew you were a true friend. There was never really any doubt, but now there is no doubt whatsoever. It's unequivocal. Nothing sexy or interesting, by the way, about being out last week. Those of you who have been listening to this program since we started in July 21 know that as much as I love my time on the radio with you, this isn't the only thing I do, obviously, right? I'm not just – I wish I could just work 1 day a week for 3 hours and call it a day. I do much outside of this space, and one of the things I do took me to Washington, D.C. For a couple days, about 2.5 days last week, and I had some very interesting meetings with some very cool people that you see on the news all the time about some issues of consequence facing our region and the country as a whole. So that was very cool. Every time I go to Washington, D.C., even though it is the swamp, and it's full of a lot of awful people. It's a little less awful since Donald Trump succeeded last November because some solid people have been brought in by his administration to try to right the ship. And I got to tell you, Justin, I always turn into a little bit of a Mr. Smith from Mr. Smith Goes to Washington clone, albeit for 5 minutes whenever I'm in the Capitol. I want to run up to the mall and stare down Mr. Lincoln sitting on his throne. I want to gawk at the Washington Monument. I want to run up the Capitol steps. I can't help it. It brings out something in me.
The little patriot in you just loves being around all these important buildings and important people.
That's what it is. That's what it is. I'm like my kids when they come down the steps on Christmas morning and they see that Santa Claus has left gifts around the Christmas tree. May we, as disgusting as things may often seem in the political arena, may we never lose that feeling if you're like me. I end every program by saying that this is the greatest nation in God's creation. Not an original thought to me, but it's true. That's why I say it. We try to say only things on this program which happen to have the benefit of fact and reality supporting them. And so you always have to keep that in mind at all times, not only because it is true, but also because it is the ultimate motivating factor. This country is worth saving, and we do our damnedest day in, day out to try to advance that goal, including for these 3 hours on Sunday night. And we have got a great program ahead, planned all out for you folks. We've got 2 guests coming up later in the show that I'm very excited about. One of them is our buddy Zach Smith from the Heritage Foundation. He is a former assistant U.S. attorney out of the great state of Florida, Donald Trump's adopted home state. We want to talk to him about a few different items because there continues to be a lot of activity in the legal sphere around the Trump administration. But specifically, you may have heard that New Jersey got a new U.S. attorney this past week. The lovely Alina Habba, right? President Trump's, I guess now former White House counsel. Now she's going to serve as New Jersey's chief law enforcement officer at the federal level. She is not beating around the bush that she intends to clean house, particularly as it relates to New Jersey's sanctuary cities, where violent criminals who don't belong here because they're not United States citizens continue to hide out and practice their dark arts, while Phil Murphy continues to bar New Jersey local law enforcement, or at least he's trying, from cooperating with federal officials. So Ms. Habba says she's going to tackle that problem. Donald Trump seems to be sending her here with a very explicit mission of draining the Garden State swamp. So we're very excited about it. So Zach is uniquely situated and knowledgeable to comment on this, having previously worked as an assistant U.S. attorney. He'll join us a little bit later in the program. And we're also going to have one of the best New Jersey legislators that we have. Now, New Jersey's got a lot of problems. We know this. But there are a few under the Golden Dome in Trenton who actually ascribe to common sense and want to try to right New Jersey's wrongs and empower the people of the Garden State that have long been living under the yoke of a tyrannical government. This is not hyperbole. In New Jersey, we are not free, as our founding fathers intended us to be. Enter Paul Kenitra, assemblyman from New Jersey's Great Ocean County, one of our great shore counties. We got 4 of them. He's going to join us to talk about some, well, you think things are expensive now. If you live in New Jersey, your electric bill is about to go up somewhere between 17 to 20% beginning June 1st. That's right, 17 to 20%. So your electric bill is already surging. Everything's already expensive, despite the progress that the Trump administration has made with eggs and a few other areas. You're already paying out the nose, out the rear. Now New Jersey, because New Jersey has not invested in the type of energy sources which can support our electric grid and make sure we don't have supply problems, right? They're hostile to natural gas. They're hostile to nuclear. We're now in a position where we're facing down these massive, massive hikes right as you're about to turn on your air conditioning. Paul Kenitra questioned the president of the Board of Public Utilities on Friday. The Board of Public Utilities is, of course, the arm of the Murphy administration that oversees these increases, and just completely laid her out. It was like that scene in Rocky, right, where he's screaming, "Throw in the damn towel." That's what the BPU should have done, because their president was roasted by Paul Kenitra. So our pal Paul is going to join us in the 9 o'clock hour to talk about what's coming down the pike for New Jerseyans if you're a ratepayer in my state on the other side of the Delaware River. And, of course, what you need to know policy-wise. Why is this happening? Because in case I haven't reminded you 3,000 times just this year, we've got an election in New Jersey coming up in November. There's a primary June 10th, and then in November we select Phil Murphy's successor. So you have to have command of the issues. You have to know why it's the most expensive state in the union. Paul's going to help us out in just a couple hours. So as per usual, I always say we have more information, more knowledge, more facts and factoids crammed into this program, all 3 hours of it, that the CDC says is safe. But you can take it massless because you're big boys and girls. You can handle it. We trust you. And we know that we are in good hands tonight, even though producer Daniel is God knows where. He stopped turning in his 6 slips a long time ago, folks. So I can't pinpoint him right now. But we're fine because we've got producer Justin Otero, the great Justin Otero.
Many people are saying this.
Many people are saying this. Many. Well, because it's true. You're solid. You're solid like a rock.
I'll always take the compliments.
Yeah, take them, baby. Take them. I never compliment Dan like this. Because, see, it goes to his head. That's the problem. I compliment him, and it just feeds his tyrannical side. And then he starts dictating what songs I can listen to, which guests I can take. You've never hung up on a single person.
Never, not never.
Never, not never. Right? We welcome dissent here on the Matt Rooney Show. Again, youtube.com/at 1210 WPHT. Let's take a break, play some ads, make some money, and then we'll come back and kick off this show in earnest in just a second. Don't go anywhere.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy. Pretty much hands off, They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief. The best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Are you raising the child of a loved one? You're not alone. Like many others, you've stepped up to raise the child of a friend or family member, allowing them to live, grow, and thrive among people they know. While fulfilling, it can also be challenging. But there is support. PA Kin Connector helps kinship caregivers just like you by providing connections to resources, services, training, and support groups. Don't navigate the journey alone.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
It's Nick Cale here to introduce the all-new 2025 ADX, Piazza Acura's latest addition to their precision-crafted lineup. This premium compact SUV is a breakthrough in design, performance, and innovation with a turbocharged engine, available all-wheel drive system, and cutting-edge technology. The Acura ADX is engineered for those who demand more. Best of all, it's now available at Piazza Acura of Ardmore, Reading, and Westchester with leases as low as $389 per month. Visit piazzaacura.com for details.
This is a special notice to all U.S. taxpayers with back taxes to the IRS. Billions in tax relief is now being made available to struggling taxpayers, giving thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars in savings away to those who qualify. If you're facing wage garnishment, threatening letters, audits, liens, levies, or already in a payment plan, you can now expedite the resolution to your tax problem, end collections, and even qualify to reduce a large portion of what you owe. Stop IRS Debt has established a relief hotline for you to call to check what savings and options you qualify for. Dial 800-759-3413. With many people facing job loss and rising cost of living, these special IRS initiatives are designed to aid delinquent taxpayers with the relief that they need to get a fresh start. For a free consultation to see what savings you qualify for, call 800-759-3413. 800-759-3413. 800-759-3413.
Every success you've had began with a great opportunity. Now there's another one. At University of Maryland Global Campus, we provide no-cost digital resources in place of textbooks and most courses. And that's not all. You'll receive your accredited online education at an affordable tuition with a choice from more than 135 degree and certificate programs. With online and hybrid courses, get everything you need to succeed again. Learn more at umgc.edu, certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Free speech in Philly on Odyssey's #1 talk station. Talk Radio 1210. WPHT.
Preamble it first, or
well, you wouldn't believe this. You would not believe this, Justin.
What would I not believe?
One of our Gen Z listeners just sent me a message over on X, a direct message. It's Matt Rooney NJ, by the way. That's where you can find me on that platform. And said, "What's Mr. Smith Goes to Washington?" Shame.
Really?
Shame. I want to ring that bell like that nun did in Game of Thrones. Shame, shame,
the
shame.
walk of shame.
Yeah, seriously. Look, I mean, I shouldn't take it out on this listener, right? Not just because we want people to listen for our increasingly rapidly ever expanding program. This is the education system. This is the entertainment culture. This is the establishment in this country failing the next generation by not exposing them to what they need to know to not only appreciate what they have, but also defend it. And Capra films should be absolutely required material by the time you get out of high school. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's essential. So I think, let me give you the very basic premise here, because I guess we have to do this, right? Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is about a scout leader, right, named Mr. Smith, played by the great James Stewart, who ultimately gets selected to serve in the United States Senate by the party fathers back home. Now, he thinks he's being selected because he's an upstanding member of the community, helps the scouts produce this community paper, and, he's a flag-waving, upstanding American citizen. But the real reason he's being selected is because they think he's a rube. Right? They think they can use as a rubber stamp to advance their corruption, right? Corruption which centers on a political party boss back home that controls most of the media. If you think this sounds familiar, well, Capra knew what he was doing, right? He was writing this against the backdrop of storm clouds in Europe, but also we have reflections of these types of creatures back here at home, even today. So here's one of the greatest moments from that classic flick. Which one is this that you pulled? I'm not sure which one you grabbed.
This is the scene, Liberty is Too Precious of a Thing, where he's giving the monologue looking at the Capitol. If you're watching it on YouTube, I managed to pull the video in time, so you're going to be able to actually watch it along with hearing it.
This is why you're good at what you do. And this is also, by the way, I started out the program saying that I was running around the mall last week when I was in D.C. for meetings looking at the monument. So basically, I was probably reciting this in my head.
That's what's got to be in it.
What?
The Capitol Dome.
On paper?
I want to make that come to life for every boy in this land. Yes, and all light it up like that, too. You see, boys forget what their country means by just reading The Land of the Free and history books. When they get to be men, they forget even more. Liberty's too precious a thing to be buried in books, Miss Saunders. Men should hold it up in front of them every single day of their lives and say, I'm free to think and to speak. My ancestors couldn't, I can. And my children will. Boys ought to grow up remembering that. And that steering committee or whatever it is, they've got to see it like that. And I know Senator Payne will do all he can to help me because he's a wonderful man, isn't he, Miss Saunders? You know, he knew my father very well.
He did?
Yeah. Yeah, we need a lot more like him. His kind of character, his ideals.
Let's get on with this.
Oh, yes. All right.
This camp is going to be out in your state.
About 200 of the most beautiful acres that ever were. You've never been out in that country, have you, Miss Saunders?
No.
I've been over every single foot of it. You could have no idea. You just have to see it for yourself. I don't know. The prairies and wind leaning on the tall grass and lazy streams down in the meadows, angry little midgets of water up in the mountains, cattle moving down the slope against the sun, campfires and snowdrifts. You know, everybody ought to have some of that sometime in his life. My dad had the right idea. He had it all worked out.
You know,
He used to say to me,
they talk about actors being able to express emotions with their face, right, without even talking. Jimmy Stewart could do that with his hair, right? If you're watching over on YouTube, right, he's got this disheveled appearance, right, but it's that of someone who is in the midst of reverie, right?
Yeah.
It's something else. Also, if you're not watching over on YouTube, Jean Arthur, right? She's the female voice you heard. Definitely 30s hot. Big time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
Jean Arthur, yeah, she was a beautiful lady.
Ahead of her time.
Ahead of her time, right? No, absolutely. But timeless, right? They don't make them like that anymore. They certainly don't have any Jean Arthur types in, I don't know, Disney remakes of classic cartoon movies.
It's so bad.
It's so bad. It's so very bad. Did you see it? Did you see Snow White?
No. What would compel you to think that I would ever spend my hard-earned money on that?
Well, I don't know. You know, I mean, you're a romantic, top R type, so I thought maybe you'd be taken in by Disney's latest money grab. Although they're not grabbing very much money, are they?
Not in the slightest. Let me see if I can find the latest numbers. I don't know if you have them or not, but
it's bad. It's bad. It's not even leading the box office at the moment. Yeah. A Working Man, right? It's a new movie that just came out. Don't know much about it. But it is now number one at the box office. It overtook Snow White, which is absolutely plummeting. Which is something else, right? For a major Disney spring release to only be atop the box office cinema chart for a single week before losing its place. That's got to be a new record.
I think Forbes had projected that it was going to lose about 53% of its business in its second, in like this Friday to today.
It dropped 66%.
Yeah,
last weekend to this weekend.
Insane.
Yeah, no, it's really bad. Rachel Ziegler has to be the least appealing possible face for Disney at a time when it seemed like they were trying to course correct a little bit following the election of Donald Trump, be a little less obnoxious with their wokeness. It's still a very woke company, obviously, very far left. Walt is doing somersaults, or at least his head is in his cryogenic frozen
in the
chamber
crypt below Magic Kingdom,
right, wherever it is that they're keeping it. But it's very simple. And did you see the story that broke this week that I guess the son of the producer was going
Mark
at
Platt, yeah,
was going at Rachel Ziegler? I bet you Zioli probably talked about it this week. Yeah, yeah. And look, I mean, maybe Rich said it. I didn't get to listen to much Zioli this week because I was out of town. But you know, the kid still doesn't get it. I mean, I understand him defending his father, but it's deeper. It's deeper than Rachel Ziegler being a virtue signaling obnoxious turd, right? She's no one's idea of what Snow White should look like. I mean, look, I'm going to get roasted, right? Because you're not supposed to speak about a woman's looks. But Jean Arthur, just take that as by way of example, who we just talked about a minute ago, versus Rachel Ziegler. Like, come on, man. She could have played one of the dwarves, right? Maybe grumpy, but she's just not. And look, you could say that's mean, whatever, but it's just true. The queen, the evil queen, cannot be prettier than Snow White. It's just basic casting 101.
I don't get.
And then they completely deconstruct everything about the movie that people thought was charming, right? There's no prince. People like a love story. I'm sorry, angry feminists that can't get a date. I know you are jaded where love is concerned, but most human beings still want to believe in romance, right? It's innate in us as humans. But this is what they continue to forget. And this is what the producer's son just doesn't understand because he's probably of that woke culture. He's just ticked off that somebody ruined his dad's payday. Woke stinks not only for wokeness' sake, but it also becomes a substitute for quality, right? There are plenty of examples of, or I should say there are at least some examples out there of material in Hollywood, on television, streaming that is woke, or at least has woke components, but it's still decent. I'll give you a great example, Stranger Things. Stranger Things is quality over on Netflix. It's very engaging. It's entertaining. Are some of the characters woke? Yes. Absolutely. Right? Like it has one LGBT storyline with one of the younger actresses, but it's still good, right? But that's the exception, not the rule. Hollywood, because they've become so formulaic, and Disney is the greatest offender at this, and they primarily worry about having those DEI elements, they never get to making sure that they actually have a good plot, that they actually have something that's engaging. The material itself is going to want people to come in and spend their hard-earned money, especially when you consider what you have to shell out to go to the theater in this day and age. Tickets, that'll run you $50, $60, $70, $80, depending upon where you go and where you go for a family of four. And that's before you even go to the concessions. You know, that butter that you are pumping onto your popcorn might as well be liquefied gold leaf for how much they charge you for it. And that giant soda, right, that's going to rot your teeth out. I guess RFK Jr. is not getting any. But for the rest of you that are getting soda, right, that costs you another arm and a leg. It's just not worth it.
I think ever since RFK was sworn in as Secretary of Health and Human Services, every time I don't know if this is you or if this is just a me thing, but I find it funny. Every time I'm about to make an unhealthy choice, I just picture RFK just like stare, like, you know, like when you see the evil villain with like the shadow over his face and like just giving you death eyes. Just imagine RFK is just looking at me, and I don't make that choice.
You're not alone. I have a friend, and you know who you are. You might be listening tonight, who is trying to diet. They're trying to lose weight, and they put a picture of RFK Jr. on their fridge. It's every time they try to go and have their late night fatty snack, they see RFK standing back at them. There's actually over on TikTok and Instagram and other places that Gen Zers hang out, and sometimes creepy older adults. There's this viral video meme going around right now where, you know, they have unwrapping videos like for food. They also do them for toys and stuff sometimes, but they do
the
it a lot of
unboxing
times.
videos.
The unboxing, but they do these for food. Well, you unwrap it, and instead of the Rickroll, it's RFK Jr. popping out and cursing at you. Like, oh, here's me opening up the latest, Twix or Kit Kat or something.
Or the new triple-double animal-style whatever burger from whatever burger chain.
Right, and then it's RFK in his RFK voice. Put that down, but it's him swearing, which I can't do because then we'll get fined.
John FCC.
Yeah, right.
But going back to the Snow White thing, Disney outwoke themselves this go around, because remember when they said that they weren't going to cast little people in the role because they didn't want to reinforce their
right. Thanks to Peter Dinklage, who reportedly
you're discriminating
complained.
against actual little people by not casting them in the movie because you want to appear to be woke. It just
oh yeah, no, they deprived an opportunity to a class of actor and actress. To your point, it's not like, look, life isn't fair. It's not like dwarves are being cast for leading roles in major movies every day. Peter Dinklage, very much an exception. And apparently he complained about Disney's use of dwarves. I remember talking about this a year ago, right? And to your point, Justin, foreclosed that opportunity to other dwarves who maybe would have liked to have the same break that he got. But isn't that quintessential liberalism? They love to wring their hands about privilege, right? This person has privilege, this person had privilege. Are they owning their privilege? What are we doing to legislate or regulate to account for privilege? Really what it boils down to is they create roadblocks for other people who could maybe end up as privileged as they were if they would just stop messing with the system. And that's a great little example, a discrete example.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
That's right. So Snow White continues to tank. I will not see it.
I did see. I do like the little bit of damage control Disney did by releasing the cast for Avengers Doomsday. Right at, I think it was Monday, they had that 5-hour live stream, which is ludicrous in its own right, of just every 5 or 10 minutes, they would show the back of the chair of the next actor in the film. But to, kind of take that heat off of Snow White. So now everybody's talking about the newest Avenger movie, who's in the newest Avenger movie, and they don't think about Snow White at all.
We've talked about this before, too, on the program. I cannot do Marvel anymore because I can't stand, and Disney started to do this as well. I can't watch 30,000 movies to understand the most recent one, right? The classic example was actually Disney, which now owns Marvel, obviously. I liked The Mandalorian. It was the only thing that has been belched out of Disney in years that I enjoyed. Little Grogu.
Yeah, Grogu.
Grogu, the little tiny baby Yoda man.
Yoda. We just call him Baby Yoda.
He was adorable, right? The whole thing was solid, first season or two. Then he meets up, spoiler alert for those of you that haven't canceled your Disney streaming account already. He eventually meets up with Luke Skywalker, which was cool, and then goes off with him to Jedi train. Then the new season's going to come up, and I excitedly tune in. And apparently he's back with The Mandalorian. And I said, what's going on here? I called my friend, who's almost as nerdy as I am, to figure out what had happened. Well, apparently all the action happened on another show. Because Disney does such a poor job of managing its intellectual property, they have to, trick you into watching other crap they produce.
It's so bad. It's so bad for, coming up to this round of Avengers movies, Doomsday and Secret War, because you have to just... It's not like there have been major movies that have set this up. There's been a couple, I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3,
yeah.
But most of it has just been Disney Plus slop that you have to slog through if you want to have... I understand it because I read the comics and I know what the storyline's going to be, but for others who are they only watch the movies and they don't have Disney Plus, they are... up Blanks Creek without a paddle because they don't know what's going on and they have to trog through She-Hulk and whatever other slop is on Disney Plus to understand anything, because they'll put a bad show together, a whole season of a bad show, and then they'll just sneak in this 10 to 15, maybe 30-second cameo that has like major implications for the next major Avengers movie.
It's garbage.
And I'm not sitting through She-Hulk to learn about Doctor Doom, who's going to be the main point of Secret Wars and Doomsday.
Not going to do it. Not going to do it, as George H.W. Bush once said. Well, listen, we've spared you, though. We've spared you a lot of work because we have a summary straight from X for those of you that are curious about Snow White but don't actually want to go see it. Do we have that in the hopper, Justin?
We do, in fact.
Okay, so you'll thank me when this is over. I just saved you about $100 and a couple hours of your life.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest one of all?
Let's see. Excuse me, your curtain. Please allow me to help.
Help? From you? Spare me your white savior complex.
I didn't mean to offend. I just thought you should know that
That I should know what? That some privileged white guy thinks his opinion matters? Get over your entitlement. I'm not some damsel in distress waiting for you to ride in on your high horse.
I'm really sorry. I was just trying to be kind.
Kind? If you want to be kind, disappear and take the patriarchy with you. Seriously, go away, stalker. You're weird. Weird.
My queen, you're the fairest, but no longer the most evil.
Wait, what?
There you go. That's it. That's the new Snow White movie. I saved you 2.5 hours.
I needed that. I needed to be saved those 2 hours.
And now you can spend that time on the Matt Rooney Show. YouTube.com/@1210WPHT. Let's take a time out, and then we'll be back with more of our program in just a moment.
Bill Spadia lies about being with President Trump from the beginning. Here's Bill Spadia in his own words.
I'm not here to fight for Donald Trump. Again, I have my issues with Donald Trump. I wrote about how he failed as a president. Trump should have been tougher in his first term. I've said this before. President Trump failed. I don't want him to run again. I do not want President Trump to run again.
Bill Spadia, full MAGA? More like full of Paid for by Chitterelli for Governor, Inc., 99 Grey Rock Road, Suite 202, Clinton, New Jersey.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-536-9607. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-536-9607 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-536-9607 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-536-9607.
You are not your diagnosis.
And vision loss does not define you.
Your drive defines you.
And we are here to let those challenged with blinding retinal diseases know
that we are driven too.
To be a beacon of strength.
A champion of courage.
An advocate for hope.
And we are stronger together.
We fund.
We fight.
We win.
We
are the Foundation Fighting Blindness.
Join the fight at fightingblindness.org.
We did it. I never had a doubt.
Thank you for supporting WPHT's 8th Annual Radiothon.
God bless the Zioni Army, the 1210 WPHT audience. God bless the Travis Mountain Foundation. God bless all the people that serve our country and our veterans, and thank you.
Your donations will help veterans and families of the fallen and inspire our next generation of leaders. You can still donate online at 1210WPHT.com. Presented by Edelman's Coins, Philadelphia's local bullion dealer. And thanks to our sponsors, Window Nation, for all of your window and door needs. Visit windownation.com. Hoffman's Exterminating, providing quality service with personalized care for over 35 years. Oliver Heating and Cooling. Call Oliver for all of your heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs.
San Francisco visits Philadelphia when the Phils face the Giants at Citizens Bank Park for a 4-game set starting Monday, April 14th through Thursday, April 17th. Join the fun and get tickets now at Phillies.com. We're always loving our McDonald's opening night t-shirt. Fans 15 and over can snag one at CBP on Wednesday, April 2nd when the Phils host the Rockies at 6:45. Get tickets now at Phillies.com.
Need new doors and windows, but not high-pressure sales tactics?
If so, give Emmons a call today. At Emmons, we provide top-notch installation service with a focus on quality and customer satisfaction with brands like Anderson and Provia Windows and Doors.
And you can upgrade your home today with our energy-efficient options, which help save you money.
Call us today at 856-885-6677 or visit callemmons.com. From top to bottom,
to inside and out,
at Emmons, we have you covered.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel yet? What? Do it today at 1210 WPHT.
The world is spinning too fast. I'm bundled like issues to keep myself tethered to the days I tried to lose. My mama said,
Don't worry. We're going to talk about Signalgate. You know, part of the challenge with this program is I come on here Sunday night for 3 hours, and now that we've got the Matt Rooney podcast up over on Odyssey's app page, you know, you can theoretically listen to this whenever you want to, you lucky ducks. But I try to avoid harping on the things that everyone else is harping on unless I have a unique angle to add. So I don't want to go blow by blow on something that has gotten thousands of cumulative hours of coverage already on this station and elsewhere, other than to say, let's remember the context in which this scandal, if you want to call it that, is happening, right? And I'm even loath to call it a scandal because in light of what has happened over the course of the prior 4 years with the Biden administration, this is not even a drop in the bucket. This is not a pea under the mattress. And perhaps we could start by going to someone who is far more articulate than I and most of the people out there. Scott Jennings, the great Scott Jennings over on CNN. He's been a guest on this station before. You know him. You love him. He did what he does best, and he absolutely obliterated an entire panel. He committed a war crime by taking out multiple CNN panelists at once. He's going to be hauled over to The Hague, Justin, for having done this. When they dared to suggest that, why are no Republicans saying anything about Hegseth? Why aren't you calling on him to resign? Listen to Mr. Jennings and internalize this.
If you're trying to assess what should we do about it, I hear Democrats arguing, well, we should fire Pete Hegseth, we should fire the National Security Advisor. The bar for firing people like this is really high from the last administration. When after the Afghanistan withdrawal, which was a disaster, people died, no accountability was meted out. After the drone strike that vaporized those poor kids and that family, no accountability. After the Secretary of Defense went AWOL, no accountability. So if you're arguing today that we should get rid of Pete Hegseth over a small mistake regarding communications, even while he was expertly executing this military operation against the Houthi rebels, which also the Biden administration didn't take up, I don't have a lot of time for that argument today, and neither does most Republicans.
The problem here is that Pete Hegseth has taken no accountability. He's bashed the reporter. He's called it a hoax. He's done everything but say, hey, I made a mistake by putting this information in the Signal chat. You mentioned Secretary Austin. He stood at the podium for an hour and took accountability. He asked for a 30-day review of the hospitalization. He asked for an inspector.
Did a single Democrat ask for his resignation?
Scott, if I may.
Did a single Democrat,
Scott,
not one?
I am so glad to hear you say that this was a mistake.
Yeah.
We have not heard a single member of the Trump administration say that this was a mistake.
Trump
we
did.
Need leadership.
Trump did.
We need leaders who step up.
You can cut it, Justin. I mean, not a single member of the Trump administration. The president himself, the guy who lends his name to the administration that is his, has said what this woman wants him to say.
Oh, God.
It's just, so listen, like I said, I'm water. I like the path of least resistance. I like to get right to the point here. I mean, Mr. Jennings said said most of what needs to be said about this. Like, are you kidding me? You know, Afghanistan, right? And everything that's come since and before out of the Biden-Harris administration. And this is what the media, this is the hill they want to die on. This is what they want to harp on for months to come now. But you got to remember why that is. They have not been able to land a single glove on Trump or anyone in his administration since last November when the election results became apparent. Not a single glove, not a single punch landed, not a drop of metaphorical blood drawn, right? So they are desperate to try to find some way to begin to bring this administration down. They don't necessarily think that this is going to do it, but it's what they got right now, right? A signal chat. They can spin it to try to feed the narrative that they relied heavily upon prior to this last election cycle, which is that Donald Trump is chaos, Donald Trump is unhinged, Donald Trump can't be trusted. Unfortunately for them, they being the Democrat Party and their allies in the media, they're trying to once again resuscitate this Trump is chaos argument. After what Americans just experienced under President Depends and his cackling second in command, right? They're okay with the table being overturned. So long as the results continue to begin to correlate with that activity. What do I mean by that? Egg prices are so low now, pretty soon you're going to see them being sold in the dollar store, right? Like they're crashing. They're coming down because of some very basic adjustments in policy that have been enacted by the Trump administration. So long as we continue to see progress, we the American people, no one's going to care about this. But it's the horse that the media has to ride right now. So they're going to ride it. They're going to ride it to hell. I don't have a lot of confidence they're going to succeed, but time will tell. But you have to view everything through that lens. And if you don't believe me, Justin, you doubting Thomas, you doubting Justin, you just have to rely on what the Democrats themselves are saying, right? Newsom did an interview with Bill Maher because he's trying to rehabilitate himself heading into the next presidential cycle, which is already underway. We finished one presidential election. We technically start another. It never stops. The hustle never ends, right? He's talking to Bill Maher, and this is arguably the front runner for the Democrat nomination in the early go here, right?
It's what if you had to pick a top three right now, what would you say? Newsom, Kamala, and Fatty in Minnesota, Waltz.
I mean, if you went simply based on name rec, but no, I don't think Creepy out in Minnesota has much of a shot.
He seems to want he's doing all these interviews and all these public.
He wants
it.
But there is a tranny somewhere in this country right now who we don't know her name, warming up for a reading in a library this week, who has a better shot at being president of the United States than Tim Walz.
Stick it in the same fatty realm. What about Pritzker?
Oh no, he's too fat to be president.
They got 4 years. They can get him on the Ozempic.
We'll never have someone that looks that unhealthy again.
Like I said, they just get him on the Ozempic. He'll be fine come 20.
Yeah, but you know what? He's the kind of fat that if he goes on the Ozempic, he's just going to look like a skin suit. It's going to be creepy. You know, it'd be like somebody burst a beach ball.
Oh my! Imagine what
sloppy Chris Christie.
Imagine what he would look like on the Ozempic once you finally got him down to a normal, 180, 170.
I can't. I can't imagine.
A built-in wingsuit.
That's like, what would water look like or feel like if it wasn't wet? I mean, it's just intrinsic to him to be fat, But this is, I think we can agree that Newsom's in that top three.
Oh, yeah. I'd say Newsom's top two, honestly.
So this is Newsom. This is him to Bill Maher, right? These guys are crushing us. The Democrat brand is toxic right now. We had a high water mark 2 weeks ago That was a CNN poll at 29% favorability. It's dropping in an NBC poll down to 27%. This notion of cancel culture, that's real, and Democrats need to own up to it. Now, granted, this guy has been the high priest of the witch trials, right? Advancing this crap. So it's ironic to hear him say this, and also a little maddening for those of us that know better. But, I mean, do you truly think that Democrats believe they have the upper hand here with this signal scandal, this non-scandal, right? When you have arguably the front runner for the next Democrat nomination talking like this. No, this is them acting out of weakness. They need something to counteract the fact that Donald Trump is in command. He's making Americans feel as if they have a commander-in-chief again, because they do, and he's starting to get real results. This is the change that a majority of us voted for. No amount of manufactured crises from the media can change that. 858-839-1210. That's our number. YouTube.com/@1210 WPHT. 1 hour gone, 2 hours left to go here on the Matt Rooney Show. See you in a second.
Hey, this is Larry Steinhaus with Investor Schooling. Listen, I know sometimes you worry about coming to see me because you don't want to invest in real estate, because you don't want to deal with toilets, trash, or tenants. I'm going to teach you a way that you don't have to deal with toilets, trash, or tenants, or even own any real estate and invest in real estate at the same time. You want to learn this, so go to investorschooling.com. That's investorschooling.com, and take a complimentary class this Thursday, and I promise you, no toilets, no trash, no tenants.
Jim Cipriotti at Retire Ready Financial Group doesn't need Google to know you're worried about retirement. Between inflation, rising taxes, and the uncertainty about Social Security, he understands. That's why he offers a complimentary retirement second opinion. It's a no-obligation meeting for you to talk about your concerns about retirement. You want to know if you're going to be okay? Let's find out. 610-894-7415 or go online, retirereadyfg.com.
Insurance and annuities offered through James V. Cipriotti, NPN number 2083768.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. Looking for a natural way to boost energy, support your heart, stay active as you age? It's time to try Rescue Orosine. This unique supplement gives your body the essentials it needs to fight fatigue, improve stamina, without relying on sugar, caffeine, or artificial boosters. Plus, it supports healthy blood pressure and overall cardiovascular function, helping you feel your best every day. Right now, my listeners can take advantage of a special buy one, get one free offer on Rescue Orosine. Just use the code MyEnergy when you order. Call 800-26-ALIVE, 800-262-5483. You speak with a knowledgeable product consultant or visit res-q.com and enter that code MyEnergy at checkout. Don't miss out. This exclusive deal will not last long. Go to res-q.com and use that code MyEnergy, MYENERGY, to grab Rescue Orosine with that buy one, get one free saving. Stay energized, stay heart healthy with Rescue Natural Supplements.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. I am quite aware of the dangers being on the road. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. These families' lives will be changed in an instant. We fight for these families as if they were our own. We've become America's largest injury law firm by winning cases just like these. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Injured? Dial #law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
See Joe Conklin's comedy show at St. Matt's on Fayette Street in Conshohocken, Saturday, April 26th, supporting Plymouth Whitemarsh High School baseball.
It was fun, 100%. Every time it's spectacular. Joe Conklin's awesome. Hysterical.
Super funny. I love the horns. Oh my God.
Really, really enjoy it.
That's Joe Conklin's comedy show at St. Matt's on Fayette Street in Conshohocken, Saturday, April 26th, supporting Plymouth Whitemarsh High School baseball. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com. joeconklin.com!
Said tariffs could help boost U.S. manufacturing.
We've seen over 90,000 manufacturing facilities leave the United States. Look, tariffs aren't the total solution. Tariffs are a tool in the toolbox to get these companies to do the right thing, and the intent behind it is to bring jobs back.
Both those gentlemen on CBS's Face the Nation. Thousands rallied in Texas today demanding Congress get to work on immigration.
I look forward to working with Republicans and Democrats to pass immigration reform, and let's do unto the least of us what we want unto does to us.
Event organizer Domingo Garcia pointing out the importance of immigrant labor. The death toll in Friday's earthquake that rattled Myanmar and Thailand has risen to more than 1,700. The BBC's Nick Marsh is in Bangkok.
Everyone here obviously wants the same thing. They want survivors to be found. But clearly, as the hours go by, as the days go by now, that possibility is becoming less and less likely.
Actor Richard Chamberlain has died. He starred in miniseries like The Thornbirds.
Oh, Mary, what would I have done without you these past years? Your wit, your perception, your malice.
His longtime partner Martin Rabbit says Chamberlain began in TV.
He did Dr. Kildare and realized that he had a lot to learn. And he ended up playing Hamlet at Birmingham Rep, and that changed his life.
He says Chamberlain went from being a teen heartthrob in Dr. Kildare to becoming a more serious actor. Chamberlain would have turned 91 tomorrow. Just in, the Wisconsin Supreme Court has refused to hear a last-minute attempt by the state's Democratic Attorney General to stop billionaire Elon Musk from handing over 1 million checks at a rally tonight. This is CBS News.
Brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You could save big when you bundle your auto, home, motorcycle, RV, or boat. Visit Progressive.com.
All right! Unbelievable! Those are the sounds of tax accountants rejoicing after experiencing the power of Blue Jay, the leading generative AI solution for tax research. With Blue Jay, you instantly get better tax answers to even the most complex questions, saving you time and helping you maximize your clients' refunds. For a limited time, save 40% off at bluejay.com/startnow. That's BLUE, the letter J.com/startnow. Or text taxes to 511-511. Blue Jay, better tax answers. Tax fees may apply.
Oh, by the way, Ivan's no longer on the project. His wife got a new job, so they're moving across the country.
Robin's top researcher is deviating to a new market. This isn't standard.
And now we're short-staffed. Who's going to finish all these projects?
She needs a cluster of new data analysts, and there's no margin for error.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Mouth hardware makes a comeback. CBS's Deborah Rodriguez explains.
These braces even ruin spaghetti. I'll never get used to them. I hate them.
Marcia Brady was an early hater, but orthodontists say old-fashioned oral train tracks are making a comeback. They report Gen Z hipsters and adults are leading the way in a quest for teeth as perfect as their kids. And there's no shame involved. Unlike Ms. Brady, many aren't shy to show them off as a form of expression and individuality. With colorful rubber bands, crystals, and jewels. Prices range from $3,000 to $10,000, and they're not usually covered by insurance. Oh, and stay away from fakes for fashion purposes. Orthos say they can cause infections, tooth damage, even misalignment. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
The American Association of Orthodontists says the first modern wire braces were introduced in 1819, but archaeological evidence suggests people have been trying to fix crooked teeth since 1000 BC. I'm Heather Bosch, CBS News.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy. Pretty much hands off, They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief. The best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Piazza Auto Group Studios, experience the power of one with 8 brands and 25 locations. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Matt Rooney on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Welcome back, old friends, new frenemies, and all who lie elsewhere in between on the spectrum that is life. This is the Matt Rooney Show. I am the aforementioned Matt Rooney, the self-anointed king of the dial here on Sunday nights, handicapping and recapping the week gone by in order to prepare you for the week ahead. That's what we do here on this show. We do it better than anyone else. Modesty is a virtue. I get that. But we're truth tellers around here, and that's just the way it is. If you want to be ready for the week, you start out here with the Matt Rooney Show on 1210. 855-839-1210 is the number. Over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. And new tonight, as we announced in the first hour of our 3-hour journey on the radio dial, the Matt Rooney podcast is finally live. You can find it over on the Odyssey podcast page and on the 1210 station page.
Only took how long to get that?
Oh, well, I mean, the show started in July 21. Yeah, so, Odyssey, look, I'll
better late than never.
I'll be charitable to our parent organization. It is a large company, and sometimes the wheels of justice move very slowly around here.
I know what you mean.
Yes. Yes, but we've been talking about it now for over a year, and we finally made it happen because we want you to be able to take yours truly and the rest of the gaggle of cast members around here on Misfit Island everywhere you go, right, during the course of your week, because it might be Wednesday and you might say, you know what was that brilliant, funny, witty thing that Matt said on Sunday night? Now you don't have to go and scroll back through the whole YouTube video, right? You can always go over to our YouTube page to find this stuff. Now you can go to the podcast. So that's huge. I also have a little bit more news tonight. I forgot to bring this up in the first hour because we got distracted by Snow White and other very important things. And I just was so excited to be with you all, to be with Justin. So regular listeners know that I was one of the panelists / hosts for the New Jersey gubernatorial debate, the Republican side, that happened, what was that, 2 months ago now? A month ago? Something like that. I think it was in the beginning of February. Time is all blending together with the fast pace of our current news cycle. And it was a heck of a lot of fun. It was a raucous debate. The candidates beat the tar out of each other. We just found out on Friday that New Jersey's Election Law Enforcement Commission, which decides on who's going to host the official debate for the candidates that qualify for the funds and everything in New Jersey, they've selected my group to hold the next Republican gubernatorial debate.
Wow.
Yes. More details to come, but I'll once again be partnering with David Wildstein of the New Jersey Globe, Rider University, on NJ. It's going to be great. And we have the benefit of looking back to the last debate, which was a lot of fun, and we've got some ideas about how we can improve upon it. I'm going to stop right there. Right, because of a host of reasons, including the fact that we don't want to give the participating candidates any advantage going into this thing. But we're very excited. So I will have a date for you all as soon as I can provide it. But we're going to have another Republican gubernatorial debate co-hosted by yours truly and my website, savejersey.com. So very excited. That'll happen sometime between now and June 10th, which is primary day in the great Garden State. So you'll be the first to know, Justin.
Wow. The first person. I am honored and privileged.
You should be. You should be honored and privileged. I should get you to come this time. Would you go to such a thing?
It would depend on the date because I'm not going to be in the country between the dates of April 25th and May 10th.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I won't be here.
Yeah,
I'll be halfway
correct.
across the world.
That is a good excuse to not go. Well, if it's not during that
if it's
time
not during
frame,
that, then where's it?
we
Rider?
will get you there. No, I don't know if we're gonna do it a Rider this time. Again, I don't want to say anything else.
Could do it at my alma mater.
We could.
That would be nice. They did spend all that money on improving the campus, so it's a nice place.
It is a nice place. We could do it in my backyard for all I care. I could barbecue for everybody.
Backyard debate night? Hell yeah.
But I know there are many of you out there that are still undecided in the New Jersey gubernatorial primary. For those of you listening on the right side of the Delaware River, right? We have many of you that listen in South Jersey and beyond. So, I'm looking at this debate not only as a really fun, cool thing to do, because what political nerd, right? And I know I can include thousands of you in our audience in this category, wouldn't want to do a debate, right? You watch them on TV, you scream at the moderators, just like you yell at your favorite athletes when you're watching them on the field, which questions they should ask, whether they handled certain things correctly. It's a real trip. But my primary purpose in participating in this is I want you, the voter in New Jersey, my fellow taxpayer that's suffering and desperately needs a change of trajectory in New Jersey and Trenton specifically, I want to try to help you make a decision, an informed decision. So that's what we're going to do with this debate, right? We already asked them a bunch of questions. You've seen the ad. You've seen some interactions with those candidates since. I want to drill down to some substance in this next debate and be able to help you decide ultimately what is at least the question you should be asking. Who is going to restore liberty and prosperity in the Garden State? That's our motto in New Jersey, liberty and prosperity, which is kind of a joke if you live there, especially over the course of the past 8 years under Phil Murphy.
Remember, we are New Jersey.
I am. Look,
only a couple more.
It's a great hotkey, but when I never have to hear that voice again.
You're only, what, a little more 10 months away from never having to worry about Phil Murphy and his snaggletooth teeth, his bad hair, and everything that comes with it ever again.
I've said it before. I mean, can you imagine something more terrifying than watching Phil Murphy eat an apple?
Oh my God.
With those teeth. Just think about it. Just think about it. Like they could use AI to create that and torture terror suspects at Guantanamo Bay with it. It's that terrifying. They would give up immediately. Well, we got a close call though, right? With his wife running for U.S. Senate. I'm like, oh my God, we're never going to get rid of these people. So that's coming up. More news on the Republican gubernatorial debate. Can I shift back to some other electoral news here for a second?
Go,
Justin, if I'm allowed
it. Show. You do what you want to do, Brother Bear.
Well, because again, when producer Dan is here, he's off doing something. We don't ask, we don't tell around here. It used to be the military's motto. It's still the motto here on the Matt Rooney Show, I guess, at least when it comes to Dan's schedule, right? I'm used to having to ask for permission, so now I don't have to. You have probably talked quite a bit on 1210 this week about what happened in PA 36, the Senate seat, right? And again, I say you probably, normally I listen during the week like you all do, but I was in D.C. last week, so I missed a lot of stuff here at home. But I was with some PA folks, and I'm well aware of what happened in the 36th district. Republicans lost a Senate seat they should have won. Now, there's a few reasons why that happened from what I can tell, talking to people on the ground, people that are much smarter than I am in the realm of Pennsylvania politics. It all really drills down to one thing. What we all feared would happen is happening. It's not that all of a sudden Americans that voted for Donald Trump last year are saying, you know what, I hated everything the Biden administration had to offer, but you know what? Seeing those Teslas out there does make me angry, because it means Elon Musk is getting richer and he's taking away U.S. aid from laboratories that are working to trans frogs, right? And therefore they're now turning on the Republican Party and its candidates. That's not what's happening. What's happening is the classic dilemma for the party that's in power, albeit tenuously in the Republicans' case, that you're all fat and happy out there. Not Chris Christie fat. I mean it in the metaphorical sense, right? You're fat and happy because Donald Trump and his cabinet are down in D.C. taking a hatchet to the federal bureaucracy. They are using the levers of federal power to roll back much of what not only embarrassed us, but also impoverished us as a people and as a culture over the course of the past 4 years under Biden-Harris. There's not that sense of urgency we all felt heading into election 2024. I acutely remember, it wasn't that long ago, but I acutely remember those shows heading into that election. Justin, you filled in for many of them, right? You were on the air during the week. You and I did some fill-ins together. the callers, the guests, everyone knew that we needed to win election 2024 or the republic might not be salvageable.
So I was here election night.
Right,
And
right.
We had the president on the show talking about
Yes.
how important it was.
There was not a single person that listens to this radio show, this radio station, had any doubt about it. Now, the sense of urgency is gone. Meanwhile, on the other side, there are Democrat voters, and although their coalition has shrunk, it's angry, air quote, educated white women, angry about their privilege. You've got people that don't know what their gender is and can't define a woman. You've got the career government cheese people, right? People that drive electric cars that aren't Teslas, right? This is about what's left of the Democrat Party in 2025, but it still represents millions of people. And they're now energized because they now have something to swing at. They have something to direct their anger towards. Correct? So that's what happened out there in that 36 district Senate race. Republicans didn't feel any urgency. They didn't turn in their vote by mail ballots. Democrats voted like their rear ends were on fire. And the results should have been predictable, notwithstanding, again, that's a district that Donald Trump carried by double digits a few months ago. Now, plenty of Republicans we all know and love and activists on the MAGA, America First side of the aisle are battling it out right now in Wisconsin as we speak. We got a little bit of news in between hours tonight. Apparently, the Wisconsin Supreme Court has rejected an attempt by that state's attorney general to keep Elon Musk from making it rain at his rally tonight he's doing with Scott Presler out in Wisconsin, right? So the bad guys lose another one. But goodness gracious, we have to hope that Mr. Schimmel succeeds and that this race in Wisconsin is salvaged, because if it's not, we will have lost it for the same reason. And we will have no one to blame but ourselves, folks. I told you repeatedly, and if I sound a little annoyed, it ain't because I love you. I don't love you. It's because I've said it, and I don't like repeating myself. And the stakes are very high here. We won a battle, right, in election 2024. We did not win the war. The war to save this country's soul is never ending. But we are still in the heat of it here, right? Cannonballs are still flying, right? It's kind of like, if I can use another nerdy example, because we use many of them on this show, because I am a nerd and I have classes, as does Justin, right? This is winning in 2024 was a new hope, blowing up the Death Star, right? But they're going to build another Death Star. They ain't done yet. They got plenty more stormtroopers. They can't aim straight, but there's gazillion of these guys, right? They still got lots of ships. They still got a lot of ammo. They've still got a lot of bad ideas they want to cram down your throats. They've got millions of children that they want to trans. Why? Because they have to go to the youth, because adults are too smart to fall for leftism in 2025 by and large. So take this as my friendly but stern and very direct admonition for all of you. Stop being lazy. Stop being complacent. You have to vote every single cycle as if Donald Trump is on the ballot, and if we lose, Kamala Harris is going to win.
There is a very good soundbite for that. We have in the soundboard. Would you like to hear it?
I would like to hear it.
Harry, get your fat ass out of the couch. You're going to vote for Trump today, Harry.
There you go. May that ring forever in your ears, folks.
Get up, Harry. Come on, let's go.
Let's go.
It's time to vote. You got to vote.
It's actually, in a way, it's the ultimate self-defeating act, right? That you put all this time and effort, and in some cases, some of you treasure, right? You donated, right? Or took time away from work to get Donald Trump elected in Pennsylvania, to make it the closest election in New Jersey at the presidential level since 1992. What did you do that for if you were going to lay down for all of these contests, which will deprive Donald Trump and Donald Trump's allies that are fighting for us of the men and women they need in other offices that can secure the America First agenda? What did you do it for?
That's it. It's like Trump can't, like, you could say we won Trump the election, yes, and that's good. You know, we have a Republican We have a Republican as president. We have a Republican slim majority in the House and a majority in the Senate, but that's not enough. They can only do so much with what we've given them. We need to give them not too big to rig, but in that same general vein of thought, we need to give him as much help to put forward his agenda that will ultimately help the American people as we can.
Yes, that is correct. I'll put it another way, a complimentary way. We need to crush their spirit, right? Seriously, that's what it is. Like we by blowing easy races like 36, you give the bad guys oxygen. And I want to be clear about what I'm saying here before anybody gets their panties twisted. I'm not saying everybody that's a Democrat is a bad guy, right? You know what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the leftists that formed the bedrock of not just the Democrat Party leadership establishment, but also the base in 2025. The people that want to pursue policies which not only attack your prosperity, but attack, for example, your ability to make decisions for raising your own child, right? We have to dispirit them. We have to convince the Democrat Party to either disband or to revert to a saner version of its former self. A party that, JFK would have recognized. That's the goal here. And you ain't going to make it happen if Wisconsin is another PA 36 and if New Jersey's gubernatorial election later this year is another PA 36. They go and they win in New Jersey by 12 points, the Democrats, whoever the nominee is, this fall. What do you think that means for Donald Trump's agenda? It means that it's only a matter of time before we lose the House and the Senate, and it goes off the rails. But what happens if we win this Wisconsin race? What happens if we win the New Jersey gubernatorial? Remember, Newt Gingrich's 94 Republican Revolution was preceded by a major win in New Jersey in 1993. Speed ahead a little bit further. 2009, right? Chris Christie upset John Corzine despite being outspent 5-1. That was before Fatty McThunderbiscuits himself went over to the dark side. 2010 Tea Party Revolution. These things build. You can't just show up for the big one and expect to win. You have to gather momentum. You have to build a broad-based movement by winning these races down ballot. So I think I've made my point. I hope I have. And I think I can trust that everyone in this audience is not going to let me down, Justin.
I don't think so.
We can at least be confident in that. YouTube.com/@1210WPHT. This is Matt Rooney. You are listening to The Matt Rooney Show. Quick time out for me to take a swig of my coffee, and we'll be back with more of tonight's program in just a sec.
You may be ready for retirement, but is your money? Learn how to make your money work overtime. Tune in to The Retirement Spectrum with Alan Cohen. Saturdays at 3 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Attention Medicaid patients.
If you're on Medicaid, how would you like if your caretaker was your daughter, your son, your grandchild, or your close friend? If you're on Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care, and that caregiver will get paid instantly after their shift. Yes, your caregiver will get paid instantly, and it's 100% free to you if you are on Medicaid. Call 267-692-3782 and ask Freedom Care how to get started with care today. No more worrying about getting care from an aide at an agency. Freedom Care helps you choose who you want to take care of you, and that person gets paid. Call Freedom Care at 267-692-3782, 267-692-3782 to get started today. You get a caregiver you know and trust, and they get paid instantly after their shift, and it's free to you. Start now by calling 267-692-3782, 267-692-3782, or go to freedomcare.com.
For more than 75 years, University of Maryland Global Campus has given you the opportunity to build your next success. Choose from more than 135 degree and certificate programs in career-relevant fields like business, healthcare, data analytics, cybersecurity, and more. Plus, we offer 100% online and hybrid courses, personalized advising, and lifetime career services. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Are you a small business owner who needs immediate cash flow? At Swish Funding, we have flexible funding options from $25,000 to $2 million. For the best rates and terms for your business, just one application to Swish Funding gives you access to our entire network of funders, with cash in your account in as little as 24 hours. To qualify, you must be in business for at least 1 year with monthly revenue of $50,000. Apply at swishradio.com and use code RADIO. Swishradio.com, code RADIO.
Ever feel like there aren't enough hours in the day? If you get busy or miss your favorite show, don't worry. With Rewind, available exclusively on the free Odyssey app, you can stream your favorite shows on demand. You know your day is better with us. Get the news that matters to you from the local voices you trust. No matter what you're up to, give it a try. To get started, download the free Odyssey app and search for your station. That's AUDACY.
Edelman's Coins, Philadelphia's local bullion dealer. Edelman'sCoins.com.
For a complete list of Talk Radio 1210 WPHT's contest rules, go to 1210WPHT.com/rules.
Feel like everything's clouded by doubt? Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com. Our psychics are available to talk 24/7, and we guarantee if it's not life-changing, it's free. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
I love this song! I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzz warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Calling on East Greenville to follow Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it today.
Hey, yo. Justin. Never forget the eternal words of the great Apollo Creed. Now when we fought, you had that eye of the tiger, man, the edge. And now you got to get it back. And the way to get it back is to go back to the beginning. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
That's correct. That's correct. And I want you all out there to remember what it felt like on election night 2016, on election night 2024. I want you to remember what it felt like on election night 2020. Right? Because we all knew which way that was going. We knew that the Democrats had stuffed the ballot boxes. They'd done the dirty deeds. You have to go back to the beginning. You have to remember the pain. You have to remember what we gained. And you got to keep fighting starting today. If you haven't kept doing it already. I know many of you had. We trust our listeners here on the Matt Rooney Show. 855-839-1210. Remember, over on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. Quick programming note. I talked about a few different elections here, PA, New Jersey, and Wisconsin. For the New Jersey gubernatorial election, we're going to start doing in-studio interviews with the major candidates heading into primary day. We've got Bill Spadea lined up coming up in May. He is the former host of another radio station in our region, the morning show there. He's going to be on our program here on the Matt Rooney Show. We've also got Jack Chittarelli returning to our show coming up later in April. And then next week, we're doing something a little bit different, and I teased this a couple weeks ago. We're going to have the Democrat mayor of Jersey City, the second largest city in New Jersey. He's one of the leading contenders for that nomination, that party's nomination, Stephen Fulop. He'll be here on the Matt Rooney Show in studio for an hour-long interview. It's going to be interesting. And I've had a few people say to me, well, Matt, you're having a Democrat gubernatorial candidate? Come on. I thought you were a Republican, Matt. I thought you wanted the Republicans to win. Dingbats, listen to yourself, right? Or listen to yourselves, plural. the entire problem with the left in 2025 is that they've walled themselves off into an echo chamber where no fresh air gets in. They only listen to the same crazy crap, and that is acted as a self-reinforcing principle for them. And they're getting wackier and they're getting further and further out there, and they continue to cancel anyone that doesn't agree with them. That's a problem when one of the major parties in this country is completely out to lunch and is completely untethered, not just from reality itself, but also from a conversation with the other side of the aisle. So if I can find a Democrat in good faith who wants to come here on the show and have a substantive debate about his ideas or her ideas, we're going to do it. I think it's hugely important. So I put that out there for the Democrat candidates. Most of them are wusses.
I love how you said her, as though like, Mikey Sherrill, she would never in a million years would she not be in an echo chamber.
Oh, yeah. No, Mikey Sherrill is afraid of this program. She's a coward. There's no chance she'll ever come on. She's welcome. She can land her helicopter on the roof if she wants and walk on down here and answer our questions, but we know that she doesn't have the intestinal fortitude to do so. So we got to give credit to Stephen Fulop. He's willing to come on the show. Guy's a Marine, retired Marine, so we give him all the respect in the world for his service, even though we don't agree with just about any of his ideas. He'll be here next week to have an open and frank conversation. And look, I will also say, when I was going back and forth with him and his people, they did not put any preconditions on the interview. They didn't ask to not ask about this or not talk about that. So it should be one for the book. So that's what's April 6th. Is that next week or the 5th?
Yes, April 6th.
Okay.
I'll do a quick double check while I have the ability. Yes, that will be April 6th.
April 6th. So April 6th. I also think producer Dan will be back for that one. We'd rather have Justin, but you got to work with what you got.
The way of the world.
Yeah. I mean, he comes back for the big exciting stuff because he's a glory hog. That's what it is. He wants to be in here lording over the board when something cool is happening. So again, remember, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. Definitely participate in the comments if you have something worthwhile to say, or if you just want to be silly, zany, salty, as many of our listeners and viewers are over there. Tony, Uncle Sam, Suze, Kimmy, we're filling up tonight online. We love to see it. Make sure you give us a like if you get a chance. Well, let's get to our guest. And I have a clip that we can play to kind of set the table here. So we have a new U.S. attorney, at least an interim U.S. attorney in New Jersey. And if you haven't heard who it is, I think this little bit of news is going to electrify you, assuming you care as much as I do about seeing the Garden State no longer resembling a corrupt third world dictatorship, which it often currently does. This is President Trump, cut number 2.
As U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, Alina will work tirelessly to weed out crime and corruption and restore law and order to the Garden State, as we call it. It's the Garden State. It's a great place. I think it's highly underrated. It's a great place to be and to live, and we all love it. Under the last administration, violent crime in New Jersey, however, rose more than 60%. And under the last administration, violent crime throughout the country rose at levels that are higher than that and unacceptable. And we're bringing it down, and we're getting rid of a lot of bad people. They're being taken out. And we hope this court system that's become so active all of a sudden in trying to protect some very, very bad people of crime, they have to stop. They have to let us do the job. We were elected to do the job. They shouldn't be interfering in that. It's a very sad thing that's going on. Nobody can even believe it. They'd rather have them stay in our country. These are murderers in many cases and people about as bad as we've ever seen. And they have to let us do the job. They have to let Cash and Pam and everybody else do their job. Alina will take on the violence and the law-breaking in Newark, however, and Camden and all parts of New Jersey, and she'll be as good as it gets because there's a lot of bad things happening there, too. She'll stop the graft and corruption in Trenton, and she'll persecute human traffickers, gang members, illegal aliens, and criminal cartels to the fullest extent of the law. And between Pam and Alina, you don't want them after you, I can tell you.
No doubt about it, Mr. President. That was Friday in the Oval, announcing that Alina Habba was going to be the new interim U.S. attorney for the District of New Jersey, which covers the entire state of New Jersey. So who better to help us understand this development than one of our favorite legal analysts we have on our program? He is the Senior Legal Fellow and Manager of the Supreme Court and Appellate Advocacy Program at the Heritage Foundation's Meese Center. He also previously served for several years as an assistant United States attorney in the Northern District of Florida. So he understands the job that Ms. Habba is now taking on. Without further ado, Zach Smith, welcome back to the Matt Rooney Show on 1210 WPHT. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Of course. Thanks for having me on the show, Matt.
Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong because it happens occasionally, but I don't recall the President of the United States having an Oval Office send-off ceremony for many incoming U.S. attorneys, interim or otherwise. Am I wrong to assume that this says something about the seriousness with which Donald Trump is taking New Jersey in 2025 and beyond?
Well, look, I certainly think it shows that the president is taking seriously who he appoints to these offices to lead these very important districts, not only on a permanent basis after that individual is nominated and confirmed by the Senate, but even those he appoints on an interim basis like he has Alina Habba. Keep in mind, too, that Donald Trump has been personally posting when he selects U.S. attorneys. He did that with the U.S. attorneys in the Southern and Eastern District of New York that cover most of New York City. He did that in Washington, D.C. when he appointed Ed Martin to be the U.S. attorney there, and he recently did that in the Southern District of Florida when he nominated the new U.S. attorney there. So it's clear, Matt, that this administration and this president in particular are paying very, very close attention not only to who he appoints to the top level of the Justice Department, but also who he appoints to these very important offices around the country as well.
Now, can you explain to us, and I know this seems like an overly simplistic question, but for the benefit of many people out there who probably don't know exactly what a U.S. attorney is or what they do, why are these such important positions? Specifically concerning Ms. Habba, what can she really do to overturn the table in New Jersey?
Yeah, well, there's a lot. So in terms of how the U.S. attorneys fit into our justice system, they are the chief federal law enforcement officer in their district. And so there are 94 judicial districts around the country, which means there are 94 U.S. attorneys, or 93, sometimes one or two territorial districts will share a U.S. attorney. But essentially, these U.S. attorneys are responsible for all federal criminal investigations that take place in their district and the prosecution of all federal crimes. And the reason these U.S. attorneys are so important is because particularly in states that have cities or localities that are plagued with violent crimes, that are plagued with drug crimes, drug trafficking, these U.S. attorneys can really direct a lot of prosecutorial time and resources to combat these very serious, very harmful crimes. And unfortunately, what we saw under the Biden administration is that the Biden administration just wasn't serious about devoting the time and resources and manpower needed to combat gun trafficking crimes, human trafficking, and drug trafficking crimes. And so I think you'll see a drastic change of focus, a drastic attention being brought to bear on many of these very, very harmful crimes that are being committed in too many cities right now.
Right. And New Jersey has a number of cities that are, not only rife with crime, but also led by lawless politicians. Newark comes to mind with Ras Baraka, who uncoincidentally is also running for the New Jersey Democrat gubernatorial nomination. Something about a Democrat seeking high office makes their ideas zanier and zanier every time they open their mouth. Funny how that works. What can Alina Habba or any other U.S. attorney do specifically to take on the scourge of illegal immigration, and specifically, Zach, governors and mayors who, despite the change in guard down in Washington, D.C., are indicating that they're still going to try to persist with their sanctuary state or sanctuary city policies?
Yeah, look, there's a lot they can do. And the other thing I would say quickly, Matt, keep in mind, too, that many of the cities that abut New Jersey, Philadelphia in the south, Manhattan in the north, have rogue district attorneys as the local prosecutors. Larry Krasner in Philadelphia, Alvin Bragg in Manhattan. And so what often happens is there's a lot of spillover effects that happen. And unfortunately, I think New Jersey has experienced a lot of that spillover effect. And what we saw, again, as I was saying, was the Biden administration wasn't serious about cooperating with state and local partners to combat that spillover that was happening. And I suspect Elena Haba and the Justice Department under Donald Trump will be. Now, in terms of specific actions that Elena Haba and any other U.S. attorney can and should take, I suspect a lot of the focus, I know you talked about corrupt politicians, you mentioned some other areas that might be of interest, but I suspect a lot of the immediate focus, a lot of the immediate need is in combating street crime. And one of the most effective things that she can do to help combat street crime is prosecute what's known as 922G cases. That's the U.S. Code provision that's relevant. Basically, it's prosecuting felon in possession of firearm cases. And the reason those cases are so impactful is because, by definition, if someone is apprehended and charged with that crime, they're already a felon. They're possessing a firearm illegally when they shouldn't be. And studies have shown that these are often the most violent repeat offenders in a community. And so I suspect Elena Haba and her colleagues in other districts around the country as well will be focusing very seriously on those felon in possession cases.
You're probably right about that. I also know a particular area of concern for crime in New Jersey are these car theft rings. We've got these car theft rings. Many of them have been linked to international gangs that are operating in New Jersey. Not only are some of these international gangs, Zach, but I also suspect that given the nature of what we're talking about here, they're operating across state borders, which means there's probably some federal crimes coming into play here. So hopefully that's another area where we can finally get some relief. Now, of course, I'm sure at least a big component of why Donald Trump is paying so much attention to these appointments, perhaps more so than a president usually does, is because President Trump has been a victim of our justice system, or I should say the miscarriages of our justice system when it was in the hands of the Biden administration, which had weaponized our justice system. Moving forward here, do you have any words of advice for Elena Haba or any other new U.S. attorneys, as somebody that was an assistant U.S. attorney, about how you make sure during the course of your time in one of those positions that, yes, you aggressively pursue justice and your goals, but you also make sure that you are exercising the wheels of justice, the hammers of justice in an even-handed way?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's a very grave, a very serious responsibility. And I suspect, unfortunately, one of the first things she'll have to do, like we're seeing across the federal government, and particularly at Main Justice in Washington, D.C., I suspect she'll have to go in and get the lay of the land. Unfortunately, there are probably career staff in the office that are not supportive of the president's agenda, that, believe it or not, are not supportive of a tough-on-crime approach and may push back against that. And so it'll be very important for her to identify those employees who may not be supportive of her goals and to take appropriate actions to either discipline them or remove them from federal service where appropriate. And then the other thing I would say is, I suspect she will be and will have to be involved in the nitty-gritty in some of these cases as she goes in, gets the lay of the land, and meets with community partners throughout the state of New Jersey. But look, this is a task that is well worth undertaking, focusing on violent crime, prosecuting the most violent criminals, prosecuting illegal aliens in our country, particularly those who are violent gang members. That is something that is so very important. This president, this administration has prioritized it. And I think the fact, again, that he is holding Oval Office ceremonies, the fact that he is posting on Truth Social, posting on X about who he is appointing to these positions shows just how seriously this president is taking these appointments.
Exciting times, assuming you believe in the cause of justice in this country. Too few of our politicians have in recent years. Maybe that is starting to change. We've been talking to Zach Smith tonight, everyone, senior legal fellow and manager of the Supreme Court and Appellate Advocacy Program over at the Edwin Meese Center for Legal and Judicial Studies at the Heritage Foundation. Zach, remind us of where we can find you online.
Sure. You can follow me on X, formerly Twitter, at @TZSmith. That's at TZ Smith, or you can go to heritage.org and see everything I've written, as well as all the fantastic work my colleagues are doing as well.
Wonderful stuff. Zach, we appreciate you joining us as always on 1210 WPHT. Hope to chat with you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Zach Smith, everyone, former assistant U.S. attorney down in the sunny state of Florida. You are listening to the Matt Rooney Show on 1210 WPHT. Again, remember, youtube.com/@1210 WPHT. Quick timeout. Back with more of our second hour of tonight's show in a moment.
Hi, it's John Asher, the Car Czar from Colonial Hyundai. It's our grand reopening sales event, and we're pulling out all the stops all month long during this event. Start your savings at Colonial with invoice pricing. You pay what we pay, no markups, plus an additional savings of up to $3,000 in rebates. And you can top it all off with incredible finance offers like 0% financing for 60 months. Save stacks of cash by stacking on the savings all month long during our grand reopening sales event. Our brand new state-of-the-art dealership is built for savings, built for service. We have over 300 vehicles in stock, Tucsons, Santa Fe's, Konas, and more. Pay invoice on every vehicle in stock only at Colonial Hyundai. Plus, every new Hyundai comes with 3-year complimentary maintenance and America's best warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain, and Hyundai Assurance. Shop us online 24/7 at colonialhyundai.com. Colonial Hyundai, the faster, easier, better way to buy a Hyundai.
In stock vehicles only. Trade bonus over KBB fair value. Tax and tags additional. Offers cannot be combined. See dealer for full details. Offer expires.
I'm a little more liberal than my conservative friends. That's Bill Spadia, the radio guy, running for governor. Spadia is so liberal, he supported amnesty for illegals and opposed President Trump's wall.
It is time that we talk about a pathway to citizenship for people who are here and they are undocumented.
I do believe in amnesty and a pathway to citizenship for people that want to be here. A lot of my conservative friends don't agree with that. You got that right, Bill. Spadia even attacked President Trump as a failure.
Now, forget about your position on Donald Trump now, but he failed.
President Trump failed. His presidency was a failure.
Bill Spadia. For illegals. Against Trump. Wrong for New Jersey. Paid for by Kitchen Table Conservatives, Inc. Not authorized or made with the cooperation or prior consent of or in consultation with or at the request or suggestion of any candidate or any person or committee acting on behalf of any candidate. P.O. Box 2891, Springfield, Virginia 22152.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WEALTH25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WEALTH25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WEALTH25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Free speech lives here with Kale & Company weekday mornings on Odyssey's #1 talk station, 1210 WPHT.
I think Alina Habba should use this as her entrance music whenever she shows up at federal court. No, as a lawyers, we don't usually get entrance music, Justin. But I think it works.
Start the trend. Why don't you start the trend?
Why did I start the trend? Because I'm not Alina Habba.
Yeah, but you're Matt Rooney.
Well, that's not that impressive. I mean, it's impressive to you, and I appreciate that it's impressive to you. But she's something else. She's going to shake it up, I think. And Zach Smith, our buddy from the Heritage Foundation, explained ways in which she potentially can. And God knows we need a little bit of MAGA common sense in the Delaware Valley and a little bit beyond. I say a little bit beyond because I'm not sure if you saw this story about a Pennsylvania legislator named Lindsey Williams. She's from Allegheny County, so a little bit further out than the signal of this station. But, the next time a Democrat professes to tell you that they believe in science, after COVID, that argument should be dead and buried. But here's a little bit more ammunition for you. So she was participating in a Senate committee meeting last week, Justin, and she voiced her opposition to something called the Save Women's Sports Act in Pennsylvania. She testified in opposition to the bill, but made an argument that you don't really hear very often. I'll give her credit for being original, if nothing else. This is Senator Williams. I want all girls to know that there are elected officials like me who believe female bodies are just as strong and fast and capable as male bodies. I want all girls to know there are elected officials like me who would never underestimate your ability to beat a boy at their own sport, because that's what the premise of this bill assumes, that female bodies are less than male bodies, that girls are at an automatic disadvantage and can't possibly compete against boys, even though girls do it every day. They don't. They don't do it every day. Male bodies are indisputably stronger than female bodies, okay? Now, women can certainly do things that men can't. I cannot give birth to a child. I would never want to give birth to a child. Female bodies are designed to be able to do that. But when it comes to sports, apparently this particular Pennsylvania senator never heard of what happened with the University of Pennsylvania swim team and Leah Thomas, or she's just conveniently forgetting it. But there is no doubt that men have different muscle structure, different bone structure, right? Musculoskeletal structure that gives them a distinct edge in most sporting arenas and in most sporting contexts. So by putting men in direct competition with women, all you're doing is you are denying young girls an opportunity to be able to get everything out of youth sports in particular that they should otherwise be able to get out of it, right? And we're not just talking about medals. We're talking about self-esteem. We're talking about advancement, not just extracurricularly and in terms of maybe getting scholarships for college or beyond, but also their ability to develop as people, right? Because that's what sports help you do. They help you learn about leadership and a lot of other really important things, how to lose, right? And in a way, what you're doing with young girls by making them fight against boys is you are doing what the left always succeeds at, which is turning people into victims, because in that case, a girl could rightly be said to complain and would not be wrong that the system is rigged when they're forced to compete against somebody that is much bigger and stronger than they are. But I say this argument from the state senator is novel because usually they try to come up with fundamental fairness arguments, right? Like, oh, yeah, we get what you're saying, but it's not fair to these trans kids. In this case, this state senator is actually throwing science in the trash, not even pretending to make a rational, scientific-based argument, and advancing something that we all know is wrong. Has no basis in reality. So you got to give her credit, I guess, for gall, if nothing else. But this is an issue that I think Democrats are finding is destroying them almost everywhere. Even people that do believe that transgenderism is a thing. I don't, by the way. In case you're new to the show, it's not a thing. I don't pretend that it is. Humans aren't frogs. We can't change our gender. Even those that do still think that kids should be left alone and think that women's sports shouldn't be something that is misused and abused for cultural experimentation. But look, I guess I shouldn't complain, and I've said this before. I shouldn't complain about Democrats digging themselves a deeper hole. We know this issue does not work for them, so I should be perfectly pleased and happy that they continue to talk about women's sports in this way. Now, am I mystified that there are women that continue to defend The trans assault on women's sport, yeah, it's kind of weird, right? That you want to deprive other girls opportunities you had. But that's the left for you, right? The left in 2025. YouTube.com/@1210WPHT is where you can watch online. We've got 2 hours behind us now, but we still have a full hour ahead. We're going to be joined on the other end of our break at the beginning of the third hour by Assemblyman Paul Kenitra of Ocean County, New Jersey. He's going to talk to us about a hearing that happened on Friday in New Jersey. He and some other legislators grilled the president of the Board of Public Utilities. Bottom line is your electric bill, if you live in New Jersey, is going up somewhere between 17 and 20% starting in June, and you need to know why. It's very important, not only on its face, but also because this is an election year when you have an opportunity to do something about it. Paul Kenitra is going to talk to us about that and a whole lot more here on the Matt Rooney Show. See you in a few.
Do you know your numbers? What numbers? Your heart health numbers, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your blood sugar, and your body mass index. They're important, so ask your doctor. Learn your numbers, and if something doesn't seem right with them, see a Deborah specialist at one of our offices throughout South Jersey. After all, when it's your heart, you don't take chances. Find a specialist near you at demanddeborah.org.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
Great weather greeted more than 10,000 runners at this year's Love Run half marathon through Fairmount Park. Hundreds of Elon Musk protesters and counter-protesters turned out at the Cherry Hill Tesla dealership. And the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society is looking for volunteers to help plant 900 trees in the Philly region.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
Enhance your home's curb appeal with new doors and windows from Emmons Roofing and Siding.
Our high-quality products offer style, security, and energy efficiency.
And you can choose from a wide selection of styles and finishes from major brands like Anderson or Provia.
Call Emmons today at 856-885-6677 or visit us online at callemmons.com.
From top to bottom,
to inside and out,
at Emmons, we have you covered.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898 or biglou.com.
What if being in recovery from a mental or substance use disorder was something we proudly showed the world? Millions of people are in recovery, sharing hope and support with family, friends, and community. Join the Voices for Recovery. For confidential information for mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Piazza Premium Automobile Studios, powering your drive with 10 brands and 20 locations. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Candidate.
Thank you for coming out in support of this very important Supreme Court race in Wisconsin.
Earlier today, the Wisconsin Supreme Court refused the state attorney general's request to stop Musk from handing over $1 million checks to two voters. The AG said it was akin to buying votes in Tuesday's election. Is President Trump contemplating a third term? Here's what he had to say today.
I'm not looking at that, but I'll tell you, I have had more people ask me to have a third term, which is in a way a fourth term because the other election, the 2020 election, was totally rigged.
Claims the election was rigged are unfounded. President Trump is expected to announce new tariffs on imported goods. On CBS's Face the Nation, House Budget Committee Chair Jody Arrington, a Republican, supported tariffs as a way, as well as reducing government spending.
We've got to bring down spending. If we don't, then I don't know how much longer we have before we're going to have an economic heart attack.
UAW President Shawn Fain believes tariffs could encourage more production in the U.S.
Stellantis made a decision to shift that production to Mexico. They could shift that work back in very short order and be producing Ram trucks right back there and put those people back to work.
The Japanese markets are down right now ahead of the tariff announcement. Severe storms are expected to hit the U.S. South and Midwest tonight. CBS News meteorologist David Parkinson.
Places like Chicago, Detroit, down to Indianapolis. Your biggest concern tonight is going to be the damaging wind. We could be seeing 60, 70, 80 mile an hour wind gusts. That's enough to cause power outages. That's also enough to bring trees down and cause real harm.
The search continues in Myanmar and Thailand for survivors of Friday's 7.7 magnitude earthquake. The BBC's Nick Marsh.
We've heard since yesterday that there have been signs of life detected here underneath this vast mound of rubble behind me. Unfortunately, it's one thing detecting signs of life and very much another thing being able to get to these people and be able to haul them out alive.
Actor Richard Chamberlain has died. Professor of pop culture Robert Thompson.
Impression, of course, he gave of being this good-looking, heartthrob leading man, but he was kind of like the highbrow leading man.
Chamberlain began his career in 1960s TV and transitioned to roles in successful miniseries like Shogun. He was 90 years old. This is CBS News.
Brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You could save big when you bundle your auto, home, motorcycle, RV, or boat. Visit Progressive.com.
All right! Unbelievable! Those are the sounds of tax accountants rejoicing after experiencing the power of Blue Jay, the leading generative AI solution for tax research. With Blue Jay, you instantly get better tax answers to even the most complex questions, saving you time and helping you maximize your clients' refunds. For a limited time, save 40% off at bluejay.com/startnow. That's BLUE, the letter J.com/startnow. Or text taxes to 511-511. Blue Jay, better tax answers. Tax fees may apply.
Oh, by the way, Ivan's no longer on the project. His wife got a new job, so they're moving across the country.
Robin's top researcher is deviating to a new market. This isn't standard.
And now we're short-staffed. Who's going to finish all these projects?
She needs a cluster of new data analysts, and there's no margin for error.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The Breakfast Club isn't just a beloved classic film. It's also an actual group of friends who meet at their favorite coffee shop near Boston.
Gordon Shaw is the type of guy who can start and carry a conversation with most.
You know, you sit there and somebody comes in, and after a while you nod to them, and then you say hi, and then they come sit down, and then you got an old friend.
And he's made both old and young friends here at the Dunkin' on Trapello Road. Among them is Lizzie Milstein and her family.
We've been a part of it for probably 5 years.
This Breakfast Club got their own special plaque from Dunkin', designating their space where you won't be surprised to find a jock, a nerd, or any other archetype enjoying each other's company. James Rojas for CBS News, Boston.
At the box office, David Ayer's blue-collar drama A Working Man beat Snow White in a surprise upset with a better-than-expected domestic opening of $15.2 million, according to studio estimates. Snow White took in $14.2 million. I'm Heather Bosch.
Oh, by the way, Ivan's no longer on the project. His wife got a new job, so they're moving across the country.
Robin's top researcher is deviating to a new market. This isn't standard.
And now we're short-staffed. Who's going to finish all these projects?
She needs a cluster of new data analysts, and there's no margin for error.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Selling your home, it's one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. You could go it alone, trying to navigate market trends, determine fair pricing, and tackle tricky negotiations on your own. You could second-guess every decision, wondering if you're doing it right. Then there's the showings, the offers, and the mountain of paperwork. Or you could work with the expertise of a realtor, here to guide and help protect as you make your next big move. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors, right by you.
WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Piazza Premium Automobile Studios, powering your drive with 10 brands and 20 locations. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Matt Rooney on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Fact check time, Justin. At the top of the third hour here. There were not hundreds of protesters at the Cherry Hill Tesla dealership this weekend. I'm hearing it reported here and elsewhere there were hundreds of protesters. There was not. There was maybe 100. Not hundreds. And when you think about it, Cherry Hill's got about 75,000 people. It's a pretty blue town. Camden County of itself is pretty blue. I mean, you should be able to get 100 people to be ticked off about just about anything at any given time. So impressive? Man, not as much, or not so much, given how much attention this whole Elon Musk backlash is getting. They're trying to whip it up out there in the media ether. So I'm just saying, because you're hearing that being reported, no. And part of it is, when you think about it, if anybody knows Route 70 in Cherry Hill, there's not that much room for that many people. The road itself is pretty broad there. There's a couple lanes. It intersects with Haddonfield Road. And you cross over, you head towards a Tesla dealership like you're heading towards Burlington County. It's a very thin strip there where the police, I guess, set up some barricades. You couldn't fit hundreds of people. Just couldn't do it. So, just saying. Another way the media is trying to manipulate you, which we never do here on the Matt Rooney Show. Welcome back, or welcome in if you're just tuning in now in the third hour of tonight's show. YouTube.com/@1210 WPHT. Grateful, happy, privileged, all the things, as the Gen Zers would say, to have you with us this evening. It's been a full program so far, and we are not letting up as we head into this final hour. And we're joined tonight, in case you didn't know already, by the great Justin Otero, filling in for Dan Valdez. He has the benefit of being talented, handsome, and also, unlike Dan, actually verifiably Hispanic.
True.
That's right. That's right. Dan is only about 1/16 Hispanic or something like that. Like Elizabeth Warren is actually more Cherokee than Dan Valdez is Hispanic. But not you, Justin.
Nah, you got a full 50%.
Yeah, baby. That's what we got around here, folks. The genuine article on the Matt Rooney Show. Oh, yeah. So, by the way, over on YouTube, some of you are saying the ads are scratchy. Somebody says it sounds like a 70s drive-through. Uncle Sam says, is that Satan? I hear that sometimes, too, with some of the ads. And I don't know what it is. It's nothing Justin's doing. But there's one that does sound like it is the voice of Satan from hell. Very dark and gravelly like that, yeah. Or if you're going through a drive-through with like a very bad system,
that's
speaker
news
system
to me.
Oh yeah, no.
They all sound fine in my headset.
Yeah, there's one that I hear, and I can't tell you what it is because I don't know what the guy is saying. Because again, it sounds like the devil.
I do like talking about ads as much as the next guy, but I do think we should get to our guest.
No, we should get to our guest.
Gracious enough to cut out some time at 9 o'clock at night for us.
No, that's fine. But look, the reason I say this is because I thought it was in my head. And now I'm glad to know that someone else hears the voice of the devil, and it's not just me. Apparently everyone over on YouTube does as well. Again, 855-839-1210. We do want to get to our guest. But see, before we get to our guest, though, we got to play him in. We have some of his clip, which I think it's actually cut numero uno. This is Assemblyman Paul Canitro, Ocean County, Republican from Ocean County, at this past Friday's Assembly hearing, at which the president of the Board of Public Utilities testified. That female voice you hear, it's not Satan, it's the president of the BPU.
Energy sources, right?
Without new
We'd be right back here again.
Without new generation, ratepayers are experiencing significant cost increases. That is why we are here today. So we need new generation to bring costs down.
But you can look at that. You mentioned earlier that you personally went to see if Oyster Creek could be repurposed, right? Oyster Creek only went offline because the DEP said that they needed to build a new cooling tower, and financially it wasn't feasible for them. And in fact, there was a Democratic bill, I believe, in 2021 that had a ton of steam. I think it was Assembly Bill 4064. And that would have helped us get a small-scale nuclear reactor at Oyster Creek. But as we all know, the governor hated Holtec, and you guys killed that, or we'd be 2 or 3 years away from a small-scale nuclear. So it just seems like it's all a little contradictory to me. Obviously, and everybody's so much more polished than I am. I'm just kind of a rube when it comes to a lot of this stuff. But
He's a lot of things,
I
folks.
see the blame with PJM, and I think the blame is all with the administration and with the BPU.
He's a lot of things, folks, but I don't think the man you just heard lacks for polish, and he is certainly not a rube. He is Assemblyman Paul Kenitra of the great state of New Jersey, and he joins us tonight on the Matt Rooney Show. Paul, thanks for joining us, sir.
What's going on, Matt? How are you, Justin?
I'll speak for Justin and myself here. I can do that because I'm the host. You kicked her keister on Friday. That video, I posted it on SaveJersey.com. It got a ton of views. People are loving it. And you did something that I got to tell you, the legislators don't always do. You were armed with the facts, and she clearly wasn't ready for it.
Well, I'm sure that they prepped her. She knows me from my time as mayor of Point Pleasant Beach because we were fighting against this crazy offshore wind debacle and all the spending that was associated with it from a very early time period. I don't think she thought that maybe we'd get as aggressive and as pointed as we did. And her arguments fell apart pretty quickly. So I think they were exposed for the climate change zealots that they are, and I think hopefully New Jersey's starting to wake up and see why their energy costs are going through the roof already and are going to skyrocket come June or July.
Yeah, and let's give everyone the context here, Assemblyman. We did it earlier in the program, but we'll do it again now in case they don't know. So the Murphy administration's been pursuing its energy master plan now for years, almost the entirety of the administration, which, as you just indicated a minute ago, isn't built on a firm foundation of natural gas, nuclear energy, things that we know are not only relatively clean but work. They've been exploring offshore wind. Now they're talking about 100-year batteries, all of these fantastical technologies that don't actually work, but which I guess if you're at a lefty cocktail party sound pretty cool. Now, surprise, surprise, it didn't work. As you just pointed out in that exchange with the BPU president, we haven't developed our capacity built on sources of energy that actually produce energy. And as a direct result of that, electric bills in New Jersey are now going to go up by a heck of a lot beginning June 1st, somewhere between 17 and 20%. And she didn't give you a satisfactory answer as to what the administration could have done to prevent this, did she?
Not in the slightest, right? And look, the administration was more focused on selling out all of New Jersey, also that Governor Murphy could have, I think, what's currently a 1% presidential approval rating when you're looking towards the next election. It was all built on ideology, right? It was all built on being able to say that we're the green warriors out there, and it was propped up artificially by the fact that energy costs were low for so long and that demand wasn't super high. So they were able to bury all these costs, and it was covered up by the fact that just energy costs were low and demand were down. And now as AI has skyrocketed, as data centers have come online, as warehouses and everybody wants everything overnight and immediately, they've been caught with their pants around their ankles, really. And now the lack of investment and the lack of any factual basis for what they were doing. And we can get into the massive change in cost between wind and natural gas and nuclear and everything along those lines. There's no option. There's no immediate fix. It's going to take years to dig out of this.
Well, and that's the problem, right? That the Republican gubernatorial candidates, we've got another debate coming up soon. They're going to talk about what we could do better, but the Murphy administration has now dug such a deep hole, we just can't snap our fingers and build a new nuclear power plant, small or otherwise, right? We can't just all of a sudden improve our energy infrastructure, which is now outdated. As you said, it's going to take years to correct this problem. Where do you think we should start as we have this debate during 2025 and hopefully get a smarter governor beginning January 26?
Well, I believe that first stage in recovery is admitting you have a problem, right? Isn't that what you see on the movies and the TV shows? So the first problem, we still haven't gotten past that. They're still anticipating 15% of the queue of where they're going to be getting energy in the future coming from wind, and we know that not a wind turbine is going to be built off our coastline right now. So they have to publicly and internally state, okay, this was all a waste of taxpayer dollars. It all was foolishly spent. It's never coming online. And how do we fix it? Because otherwise they continue to allocate personnel resources and financial resources, which are ours and your listeners' tax dollars and ratepayer dollars, in the wrong direction. So once they admit that, I think if the governor was willing to repeal Executive Order 100, which started a lot of this and is the reason that it takes like 5 years to get a natural gas plant online, when if you just left it in a vacuum, one could be built in 1 or 2 years, then you start taking down some of the hurdles and you're focusing on things that can fix it. But at the end of the day, it's a simple cost-value proposition, right? If you're spending a taxpayer dollar, you should be looking at how many megawatts of energy you can most get out of that dollar. And if you follow that premise, you will lower energy rates exponentially, but they don't. They want to be champions of green energy, and that costs 10 to 20 times more.
That's right. That's right. And this is what we're always trying to tell people, that leftism, as silly as it sometimes sounds, because it is, it's not without consequences. And in New Jersey, those consequences are about to once again become painfully clear and real for the people of our long-suffering state. I mean, I don't think it's hyperbole, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to have, for example, senior citizens in New Jersey this summer that are going to have to decide, it's 95 degrees outside. Do I go pick up that prescription that my doctor said I should start taking, or should I turn on the air conditioning? That's not a decision.
Totally accurate.
Yeah, and it's not a decision that anyone should ever have to make.
It's unbelievable. There is, most listeners probably don't know this, but there's a division of rate counsel. He is essentially the one objective person you can find that's getting a government paycheck in the administration. And he has said similar things. He said this summer that senior citizens are going to have to decide between putting the air conditioner on and getting their medication or buying food. I mean, that is almost a third world problem, isn't it? How the hell is that happening right here in New Jersey? It's almost unthinkable. And while they think that brownouts are fairly unlikely this summer, they're not out of the realm of possibility. And as our data needs grow and as the situation worsens, that becomes more of a reality too.
Yeah, I mean, we look, I mean, if nothing else, right, Governor Murphy was honest about one thing. He said he wanted to turn us into the California of the East Coast. Brownouts would be the final follow-through for him in making that promise come to fruition. And to your point, it may very well be in our not just our future, but our very near future. So we're talking to Paul Kenitra, everyone. Again, he's an assemblyman representing New Jersey, Ocean County, the 10th legislative district down at the Great Jersey Sure. Paul, before I let you go, I want to ask you, too, about something else that we just played on the program a little while ago. You are not only familiar with New Jersey's culture of corruption, you're also a crime victim. You had your car stolen out of your driveway with your assembly license plates not all that long ago. A terrifying experience. There was a home invasion attached to it. Terrible stuff. We're glad that you and your family are okay. We now have a new U.S. attorney in New Jersey, at least on an interim basis. Elena Haba, I'm sure you're aware of this. I'm sure you've been following it. What would you like to see her focus on now that we finally have a lawman in New Jersey that may actually be interested in enforcing the law?
As usual, you see the whole picture, Matt. I have already reached out to their office, and they're in the process of really putting the New Jersey situation together. So we're trying to get a meeting with her and her staff down in D.C. Sometime in the next month. And if not, we might have to push it and meet in New Jersey. But I want to offer my help, my staff's help in rooting out the corruption because, yeah, I mean, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen how weak on crime we are, how lack of repercussions for your actions in New Jersey have translated into a less safe place. And, you know, I mean, these young kids were rooting around in my house while my wife and my mother-in-law slept. And then I went a month later and I met with the Auto Theft Task Force in Newark. And, you know, almost everybody that's committing these crimes are 16, 17 years old. And when they do catch them, they catch them riding around in stolen vehicles because they don't catch them right in the act. And that's an even less crime. It's just joyriding in a stolen vehicle. And you know, being the mayor of Point Pleasant Beach, I saw all the pop-up party situations and the destruction that was caused by all of that. And everybody just got a slap on the wrist and on and on and on. And why is it all happening? I think this is somebody that's going to bring the hammer down, get to the root of it all, and hopefully, you know, make it a little tougher to do wrong in New Jersey.
We're overdue for a little relief. But I got to tell you, Paul Kenitra, folks, assemblyman from the 10th District, I told you earlier tonight, I'll say it again now that you've heard from him, there is a handful of legislators in Trenton that don't routinely give us migraines, and he is one of them, and that's one of the highest bits of praise you could ever give to a Trenton politician, because Paul hasn't forgotten where he comes from. He's not one of these Trenton politicians. He's a son of the Jersey Shore, and he's fighting for you every day. And we appreciate you making time for us, my friend, on a Sunday night to fill us in on what's happening.
Hey, grateful for our friendship, Matt, and looking forward to seeing you real soon.
Paul Kenitra, everyone, Assemblyman, the great state of New Jersey, here on the Matt Rooney Show. Remember, youtube.com/@1210 WPHT. Let's take a quick break to take a swig of caffeine because it's after 9 o'clock. Play some ads, and we'll be back with more of our little program in just a few minutes. Don't move a muscle.
See Joe Conklin and the City Rhythm Orchestra at the Keswick Theater April 5th. Proceeds support the Abington Police Foundation and St. Luke's School. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com. joeconklin.com!
Attention Medicaid patients.
If you're on Medicaid, how would you like if your caretaker was your daughter, your son, your grandchild, or your close friend? If you're on Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care, and that caregiver will get paid instantly after their shift. Yes, your caregiver will get paid instantly, and it's 100% free to you if you are on Medicaid. Call 267-692-3782 and ask Freedom Care how to get started with care today. No more worrying about getting care from an aide at an agency. Freedom Care helps you choose who you want to take care of you, and that person gets paid. Call Freedom Care at 267-692-3782, 267-692-3782 to get started today. You get a caregiver you know and trust, and they get paid instantly after their shift, and it's free to you. Start now by calling 267-692-3782, 267-692-3782, or go to freedomcare.com.
Every success you've had began with a great opportunity. Now there's another one. At University of Maryland Global Campus, we provide no-cost digital resources in place of textbooks and most courses. And that's not all. You'll receive your accredited online education at an affordable tuition with a choice for more than 135 degree and certificate programs. With online and hybrid courses, get everything you need to succeed again. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Will new tariffs impact small businesses? Rising costs and economic uncertainty can hurt your bottom line. But with Swish Funding, your business can stay strong. We offer fast, flexible funding solutions from $10,000 to $2 million for working capital, cash flow, and more, and as little as 24 hours with no collateral needed. If your business earns at least $50,000 per month and has been around for over a year, you could qualify today. Go to swishradio.com and use code RADIO. Swishradio.com, code RADIO.
We did it.
I never had a doubt.
Thank you for supporting WPHT's 8th annual Radiothon.
God bless the Zioli Army, the 1210 WPHT audience. God bless the Travis Mountain Foundation. God bless all the people that serve our country and our veterans, and thank you.
Your donations will help veterans and families of the fallen and inspire our next generation of leaders. You can still donate online at 1210WPHT.com. Presented by Edelman's Coins, Philadelphia's local bullion dealer. And thanks to our sponsors, AMC Heating, Plumbing, and Air Conditioning. Now hiring experienced technicians. Veterans encouraged to apply. Visit AMCOnTheWeb.com. Tillman Builders. Love your home again with a Tillman Builders renovation. Stockwell Elastomerics, where careers are made and ownership is earned. Be sure to follow Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Justin, is that you in there?
This is a. You want to take a guess at which member of the chat requested this one?
Oh, I think I can guess. It rhymes with and ice.
No.
No?
It rhymes with Angle Ush.
Oh, yeah, you know what? He is into the heavy metal stuff, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Mangle Mush gave an extra hearty woot.
Because he knows this wouldn't fly on the Rich Zioli show, so he's getting his licks in.
He's getting it in now. You know, little dirty little secret. That is why the Matt Rooney show is popular. It's because people get to hear the stuff that Rich says he won't play. That's it. It's the only reason. It's the only reason I can get a producer. I put up with what Zioli will not, folks. I'm a pushover. I don't know what to tell you. But we're having fun, even though our ears are now bleeding.
Thank you, Mangle Mush.
Thank you, Mangle Mush. Look, Mangle Mush is a loyal listener to this station and this show as well.
Oh, yeah.
So if he wants a song, he can have a song.
He gets his one.
Yeah.
It's like Spider-Man from Family Guy. Everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one. That's right. That's right. It's no more true than here on the Matt Rooney Show, folks. YouTube.com/@1210 WPHT. Great guest tonight. Enjoyed hearing from Zach Smith about Elena Haba and what's happening in the Department of Justice. And then, of course, our friend Paul Kenitra, Assemblyman from Ocean County, discussing these horrendous electricity hikes that are coming to yours truly and my fellow New Jerseyans in just a couple months here. We're all bracing for that. Elections have consequences, but the beautiful thing about it is you always have the next election to get it right, and God knows we have to. On the subject, Justin, of elections having consequences, here's a butte tonight, which illustrates the impact that the Trump administration is already having on securing our borders and addressing the illegal immigration invasion that's been happening in this country over the preceding 4 years. Get ready for this one. This is from the good folks over at Breitbart. This is the headline. Coyotes are smuggling migrants out of the United States.
Imagine saying that a couple months ago.
That's right.
Back when President Depends was having everything done for him by Dr. Jill.
That's right. That's right. You people were just sneaking in. There were these giant caravans, right, marching towards the border, right? It was like the hordes of Mordor right? Marching on Gondor, no longer. This is from this article that was produced by Neil Monroe over at Breitbart. I've been a journalist for more than 25 years, but I never thought I would see this. That's Alfred Corchado, an American journalist in Texas and Mexico. He's also an executive editor of a local publication. This is what he told back on March 26th, just a few days ago. He told an audience at the Council on Foreign Relations, coyotes are now offering packages where migrant people can go back home. If you want to go back home, or you want to go back to Honduras, or maybe you don't want to go back to Honduras because it's too dangerous, or you don't want to go to Guatemala, but maybe you want to go to Costa Rica. And so they're offering the smuggling packages where you can just go back home. Not all of them are taking it, but many are. So there you go, right? Donald Trump promised he was going to secure our border, and now the coyotes are enabling reverse illegal migration. Let someone else deal with it. And let's keep in mind here, in a day and age where the American people are dealing with profound financial and economic challenges, there's a lot of discussion because of the good work that's happening over at Doge about the necessity of reducing our national debt. Trump secured the border for about 0.2%. Actually, it's not even 0.2%, 0.2% of the cost of the border crisis. That's according to an analysis by Front Page Magazine. Southwest Border Mission, the one that's been instituted by the Trump administration, which involves bringing a number of different resources to bear. They've sent some members of the military to the border to help secure it. It's cost about $330 million so far, which, by the way, is an appropriate number because there are about 340 million people in the country. So it's cost about $1 per person that lives here to get this done, right? Now, think about what it's actually costs us to have an open border, right? Before President Trump invested these resources to make sure that was no longer the case. The House Budget Committee previously estimated the cost of the border crisis, right? I mean, what it cost in terms of, arrested economic development, the cost on local, state, and government resources, a lot of the crime that resulted from having an open border, $150 billion. $150 billion. For those of you that learn math from the teachers union, that is a lot more money than $330 million. Promises made, promises kept in record time.
And it's not like it's an unpopular decision. I think one of your cuts talks about how a majority of the Americans support how he's handling immigration.
That is correct, my friend. Beautiful segue as always, Justin. This is cut number 3. This is Face the Nation earlier today, the results of a brand new CBS YouGov poll. These are the kinds of things that the media has to play because they paid for the poll, but they sure don't like to have to report on it. Listen.
This is a story about balance, and the things that are going well in the public mind for him is his handling of immigration, which is still net positive, and his deportation program is still net positive and popular.
Yeah, and I mean exactly how popular. If you look at their numbers, Trump is about tied in his overall job approval, which, some have it higher, naturally. Rasmussen has Trump, I think, about a point or two up. But look at this specific question that was asked. Trump administration's program to deport immigrants illegally in the United States. Do you approve of that program of President Trump's, or do you disapprove of it? 58% approve, 42% disapprove. That's a landslide.
It's not like you can say it's close 51-50. No, it's better than Trump did himself in the general election. It is overwhelmingly popular among the American people.
Yes, that is correct. And that's why I started out tonight by saying this. but I'm going to repeat it again. We're heading into a gubernatorial election in New Jersey this year. Of course, next year we have the midterm elections where House districts across our area are going to be on the line. President Trump is delivering on his big promises. If inflation continues to cool, if people start to feel some relief, I don't care how many phony scandals, how many exaggerated scandals, how many signal chats a reporter may get added to out there about God knows what, it's not going to make the difference that the left hopes it will. Because the American people, a majority of them anyway, will be happy with what they're seeing and happy with what they're paying when they go to the pump, when they go to the supermarket, when they get their electric bill. Not in New Jersey, of course. In New Jersey, we've got a long way to go because we have the opposite of President Trump in Snaggletooth right now in Trenton, but we're doing the best we can to correct that. Think about this, though. I mean, elections can be summed up as follows. And, of course, I'm simplifying things here. But at the end of the day, a candidate has to qualify himself, and he has to disqualify his opponent. Right now, Donald Trump is doing as well as any president on the Republican side of the aisle I've seen in my lifetime of qualifying the Republican Party. Why we have better, more aggressive, more dynamic, more bold color versus pale pastel ideas relative to the Democrat Party. The Democrats need to qualify themselves. What are they doing? Same old crap. Same old garbage, right? Accusing Trump of being a tyrant. You saw that crazy, petulant, mass hissy fit they threw at the joint address to Congress about a month ago now with the Fogo de Chao signs they were all holding up, right? That was embarrassing. Now these Tesla dealership protests and people are attacking Teslas. That one account, I think we've got this somewhere in the cut pile as well. There's a 61-year-old woman that was attacked, okay, while driving her Tesla. This is scary stuff. It was out in Arizona. She's identified only as Susan. She was driving on Route 66. You can get your kicks on Route 66, right? I think that's right. And somebody basically did the hockey shortstop in front of her in their car. Well, why don't you listen to this news report? And scary is an understatement.
Take a look at this. This is video from the victim's Tesla camera. It shows a green car pulling up to a Tesla on busy Route 66.
I think that's Cut
then
Ocho.
Swerving in front to box the Tesla in. The driver then walks over to the 61-year-old woman in the Tesla and reportedly
Not working, maybe
starts
some Tesla
hitting her
hater
while she's sitting behind the wheel.
Defaced our clip
At one
or something
point, the
like
woman
that.
says she bit the man's hand.
It's playing.
Moments later,
Oh, is
the
it?
passenger of the green car
I
appears
can't
to
hear.
walk over and pull the attacker away. They finally get back in their car and drive off. We spoke to the victim today who said she was terrified and can't understand why anyone would do this.
I was just stunned, and I wished that I would have had someone with me that would have protected me. I'm just appalled. I didn't buy my car for a political statement. I bought my car because it's really fun to drive, and my politics have nothing to do with that. And I'm ashamed of our society and what they're doing.
The victim, along with the other Tesla owner who received a threatening note and text, have both now signed up for a gun safety course at a gun range north of Flagstaff. They tell us they don't feel safe right now and want to be able to protect themselves.
So this is the most beautiful part about this whole thing, right? So you've got these domestic terrorists, right, preying, and I don't say it's beautiful, obviously, because this is good. This is horrendous, but you've got these domestic terrorists preying on Tesla owners, many of whom are not even Republicans or vote Republican, right? So they're turning more normal people off to their nonsense, these crazy leftists. But now you've got this woman and others who drive Teslas who are apolitical going and becoming Second Amendment exercisers and getting guns to protect themselves. They're creating more Republican voters with this crap. And they don't even realize what they're doing. This is why, as I explained to you earlier in the show tonight, notwithstanding what you're hearing on the mainstream legacy outlet news, right, about doom and gloom for Donald Trump because of a Signal chat. No, listen to Gavin Newsom. I never thought that I would ever say that, but listen to Gavin Newsom, not his ideas, but the fact that he is reversing course quicker than a Frenchman running from a German tank, right? He is running in the other direction. Why is that? Because he's not an idiot, and he knows that the Democrat Party, as represented by these Tesla terrorists, will never win back the center. Not in its current constitution. Just won't. They're digging themselves a hole which they can't extract themselves from. And at the end of the day, who are you going to line up with if you're an undecided voter? Are you going to line up with Donald Trump and Elon Musk? Or are you going to line up with a guy that is blocking traffic with his car and threatening some random poor woman just trying to drive her Tesla?
With his rear end out, by the way.
With his rear end out.
If you were watching on the YouTube, you saw the clip. Apparently, big hater of the guy who assaulted the Tesla. Not a big fan of Teslas, and not a big fan of belts either.
And with his hiney hanging out.
Just a whole crack out on display.
There was more crack in that clip than you saw at Hunter Biden's farewell party at the White House, folks. And I'm gonna twist the proverbial knife a little bit more here. Like, look, I mean, YouTube here, right? Like, I'm not Mr. GQ, but why is it that all of these leftists are just slobs? Have you noticed this? There was that one fatty that was riding his electric cart into Teslas, right? It looked like the human blob. They're never. It's never someone that's attractive, right? It's never some like Hollywood actor looking person that's committing these crimes. They're clearly people who hate themselves,
ugly inside and out.
Right. They're happy. They hate their own lives. They hate themselves. They're not happy, right? And that's why they don't look like Bradley Cooper. They look like that Mr. Crack that you saw on the screen there a moment ago. 855-839-1210. That be our number here on the Matt Rooney Show. We're going to take a break, the final of the evening, because we are capitalists around here, right? Whether you drive a Tesla or not, we believe in paying the bills. We believe in paying our fair share, right, lefties? And then we'll be back to round out this program when we're done momentarily.
When you haven't found love, it can feel like everyone else has. It's in every movie, every song, and all the PDA. Looking for love sucks. Thankfully, California Psychics can give you the guidance you need to find the one. We guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. And new customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com and experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Need new doors and windows, but not high-pressure sales tactics?
If so, give Emmons a call today. At Emmons, we provide top-notch installation service with a focus on quality and customer satisfaction with brands like Anderson and Provia Windows and Doors.
And you can upgrade your home today with our energy-efficient options, which help save you money.
Call us today at 856-885-6677 or visit callemmons.com. From top to bottom,
to inside and out,
at Emmons, we have you covered.
Don't keep putting it off. Ignoring home repairs won't make them go away. If it's drafty windows, overflowing gutters, rotted trim, or that dreaded leaking roof, PJ Fitzpatrick can take care of your home repair project right now and save you thousands of dollars before it turns into costly structural damage. This is the time to call the home repair experts at PJ Fitzpatrick. No job too big or too small. They'll fix it right the first time. Visit trustpj.com. That's trustpj.com.
If there was ever a time to live united, it is now. Now is the time to speak with one voice, to build up, not tear down. It's time to join hands and live united against the problems that keep our communities from thriving. United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Will you? Volunteer or donate now at unitedway.org.
This is a special notice to all U.S. taxpayers with back taxes to the IRS. Billions in tax relief is now being made available to struggling taxpayers, giving thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars in savings away to those who qualify. If you're facing wage garnishment, threatening letters, audits, liens, levies, or already in a payment plan, you can now expedite the resolution to your tax problem, end collections, and even qualify to reduce a large portion of what you owe. Stop IRS Debt has established a relief hotline for you to call to check what savings and options you qualify for. Dial 800-759-3413. With many people facing job loss and rising cost of living, these special IRS initiatives are designed to aid delinquent taxpayers with the relief that they need to get a fresh start. For a free consultation to see what savings you qualify for, call 800-759-3413. 800-759-3413. 800-759-3413.
From North Wales to Willingboro, we know your favorite stations, Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
It being Sunday night, of course, remember, tomorrow is Monday. I know. No one loves Monday, but there is a silver lining. Kale and Company will return tomorrow. They start at 6 a.m., as the saying goes.
So they say.
So they say. I've done that before. I filled in for Nick. I've been on that program. I was going to say as a guest co-host. I don't know what you call it when you sit in there for Greg. What is Greg?
Greg is the executive producer.
Right, well, I know what he technically is, but he's
Yeah.
more than that on the program. So when you fill in for Greg, I'm not a fill-in executive producer.
No.
I'm basically a fill-in stalker.
Yeah,
It's its
he's
own
sort of-
entity.
Yeah, it's its own thing. You're just a
Yeah.
fill-in stalker for the day.
Yeah, they don't let me touch the board or anything like that for fear that I'd muck it up, right? So make sure you're here for Kale and Company when it returns this week, tomorrow at 6 o'clock a.m. I am up in that hour, but rarely do I know what is going on. Usually it's some combination of diaper changing, not my own, smart Alex. You wise crackers out there. I'm referring to a child, of course. But make sure you're here for it if you are awake and coherent in that hour. It is Sunday, right? So that doesn't just mean the Matt Rooney show or football during a certain time of year. It's also the day that's reserved for the Lord, Justin. And we have some interesting data that was published by the Barna Group a little bit earlier this month about church attendance in this country. Now, I mean, this story is relevant for a few different reasons, right? We're in the middle of Lent for my fellow Christians. Easter's coming up in a little bit, but it's been said that politics is downstream from culture, and I think that's absolutely true. And American culture has been characterized by a few trends in recent decades, one of them declining church attendance. It was somewhere around 48%. Nearly half of American adults reported that they attended church weekly as of 2009. Not talking about 1979, 2009. That had dropped to 27% by 2017. And then it kind of held steady. It was 28% by 2024. Well, we've got some preliminary data for 2025. Now that we're about a quarter of the way through the calendar year, and we're on track for an uptick, up to 32%. May not seem like much, but it seems like the curve might be now bending in the other direction after a long period of steady decline. And this is something, Justin, that I think is interesting about this. For the longest time in American society, women outpace men with church attendance.
Really?
Yes. Some of that is for ghoulishly practical reasons that, women live longer than men, right? So little old ladies going to church, right? They outnumber little old men going to church because little old men die before little old little old ladies. But also, for years, I know many of you growing up, like dad would be at work or he'd be working on something at home and mom would take the kids to church. It was a reality in many homes. Well, now that's changed as well. According to this survey, preliminary data also shows that at least as of 2022 and continuing through 2025 now, men have consistently shown higher weekly attendance rates than women. So 30% of men versus 27% of women attending weekly as of the end of last year. From 2000 to 2015, women attended church at higher rates than men. Then from 2016 to 2021, it was about the same rate. So what does all this mean? This means that, our politics may be reflecting at present somewhat of a spiritual revival in this country, at least among American men. And when you look at the recent election results, Donald Trump did improve his standing with women over 2020 significantly. He did. It's a little bit of a common misconception out there that he got completely smoked with women in 2024. He didn't. But there's no denying that he improved his standing with men, and not just white men, Black and Hispanic men, non-white men as well, dramatically. And he continues, and the Republican Party continues to struggle with the so-called educated female voter. So again, it's culture. It's culture. People that believe in God, people that believe that there's a higher power, continue to be the bulwark of the Republican Party. We may pray differently, right? But that coalition, that's what continues to define it relative to the Democrats, who are going in a decidedly more secular direction. These things, they may seem a little dry to some of you, but it's hugely important if you're trying to figure out what the heck is going on out there in this great country. And as I said, with Easter bearing down on us here in just a few weeks, it ain't just about picking up the colored eggs in the backyard. I will be doing that. I will be hosting my annual family Easter egg hunt this year. I'm quite good at it. I'm very good at hiding eggs.
Do you have have you ever had an egg that just doesn't go found?
Oh, absolutely. And can I tell you when I find it?
When do you find it?
I find it, so you put them down in usually like April-ish, right, or whenever Easter is. Invariably, I will be cutting my lawn sometime this summer, and I hear a crunch, and I say, "Oh, what was this?" And then I look down and I see a million little plastic-colored fragments, and then what remains of what was a Reese's cup. Right, or a small fistful of jelly beans strewn across that particular patch of my grass that I had been manicuring. So yeah, that's what happens. What are you gonna do, right?
What are you gonna do?
It's part of the fun of the holiday, but I take quite a little bit of joy in it, 100%. And if they find them all, then I didn't do a good job.
Yeah, you know what? I respect that take.
Oh yeah, I do this with not only my own kids, but my kids are kind of young, but with my nephews, my niece. I'm a big believer in you beat Uncle Matt when you beat Uncle Matt. I do not believe in letting children win. You're playing a game with me, whether it be, like one-on-one basketball out in the driveway, whether it be a board game. I play to win.
No handouts.
No handouts, man. No handouts whatsoever. I'm not a believer in it, because then when you finally do one day defeat me, it will have been for real. And what an amazing day that will be. But until then, you need to know that, hey, listen, life is punctuated.
Not fair.
It's not fair. It's punctuated by a lot of failure, right? And learning how to deal with it is one of the great lessons that you can impart upon a child that is developing into eventually a young adult, and one day a full-fledged adult that you hope will then eventually vote and make adult decisions. And how can you expect them to make adult decisions if you don't raise them to behave like an actual adult? Again, these things are not complicated. Ronald Reagan said, the solutions we need, paraphrasing, are not complicated. They're just hard. Yet another example. But, look, don't rely upon your old pal Matt to be an expert on parenting or anything else. What do I know? Otherwise, I would have remembered where I left that Easter egg before I destroyed it with my lawnmower.
You're too good a hider for your own good.
I'm too good of a hider for my own good. So what you gonna do? But listen, we are not taking a hiatus next week. We'll be here. I said it earlier, I'll plug it again. We'll be here with Democrat Mayor Stephen Fulop on next week's edition of the Matt Rooney Show. He is one of the candidates for governor in New Jersey this year. We are interested in talking to any Democrats that have the intestinal, or depending upon your gender, testicular fortitude to come on this program and defend their ideas. He's been the only taker so far. But if any of you are willing and able to come on this program and explain all the things that Democrats have to defend, Tesla terrorists, abortion up through the day before birth, the fact that there are 59 genders, I guess, according to them, men competing with women in sports. Come on here and tell me why I'm wrong. I'm open to hearing your explanation.
Talking to you, Mikey, you coward, respectfully.
She is a coward.
I do have to be a little bit respectful because she is a sitting.
I love the fact that you had it on. Come on here, you stinking coward, respectfully.
Yeah, respectfully, because she is a sitting member of Congress.
You yellow-bellied loser. Respectfully,
of course.
Respectfully.
As respectfully as I can call you a coward, respectfully. You gotta add that little disclaimer.
You gotta add that disclaimer. So be here next week, folks, for more fun on the Matt Rooney Show. For now, thank you for listening. Thank you to watching on YouTube. Remember to check out the new podcast if you missed any of tonight's program. Until next week, stay safe, stay sane, and keep fighting for this greatest nation in God's creation. It's worth it.
See Joe Conklin's comedy show at St.